So this is Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And we're going to do Trump tomorrow, and it's related to, because Trump wants to create wants to make America a world capital for cryptocurrencies. He's talked about that. So we'll be talking about Trump tomorrow. So I don't know if you've heard of Bitcoin Pizza Day. That was the $80 million pizza order. That's May 22nd of 2018, marks the 8th anniversary. So that's May 22nd of 2010 is when it happened. The first Bitcoin transaction, which a Florida man paid for 2 pizzas with the cryptocurrency. The day has become part of folklore, not because of the transaction, but more for the price. The man in question paid 10,000 Bitcoin, which today is worth more than $80 million for 2 pizzas. Back then it was,
2010, he was less than 50 cents, I think.
Well, it was I think about $15 for 10,000. He went and he paid, says on the May 22nd, 2010, one known as Bitcoin Pizza Day, Laszlo Hanyes agreed to pay 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 delivered Papa John's pizzas. Organized on Bitcoin Talk from Forum, the Florida man reached out for help. I'll pay 10,000 Bitcoin for a couple of pizzas, like maybe 2 large ones, so I have some left over for the next day. I like having leftover pizza to nibble on later. You can make the pizza yourself, and you can bring it to my house or order it for me from a delivery place. But what I'm aiming for is getting food delivered in exchange for Bitcoins, where I don't have to order or prepare it myself. Kind of like ordering a breakfast platter at a hotel or something, that they just bring you something to eat and you're happy. So that's the first transaction that anybody knows about for Bitcoin. So I'm not a liar. Well, I'm in a lawyer. No, I'm in a liar. You should never take my word for anything. You should always do your own research. I provided references to aid you in your research, but people you'll meet in your life, there's the people who try to wake up the slaves, there's the slave masters, there's the people who have no idea they're slaves, and there's the people who like being slaves. Which one are you? Do you really know for sure? Are you who you think you are? If you can see through the illusion, then you are the solution. If the people do not know their basic rights and freedoms, how can they know when or if their rights and freedoms are being infringed? And that's one thing that I just see all the time. Nelson sees it too. Is we were talking about that at the meeting today.
Fire just came on.
Sorry?
The fire just came on.
Oh, did it? I need to turn that down. I don't want that. That's why I got the door open.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah.
Unwanted.
Counterproductive.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyways, never forget the men who started this country are marijuana growing, whiskey drinking, tax evading rebels who left their beds at night to shoot at the cops. All tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. I don't trust the government. I don't trust the medical, pharmaceutical, industrial complex. I don't trust the military industrial complex. I don't trust the mainstream media. I don't trust the bankster criminal cabal that owns the government, owns the medical, pharmaceutical, industrial complex, owns the military industrial complex, and owns the mainstream media. If you call me a conspiracy theorist, I don't trust you. Government's not reason. It's not eloquence. It is force. Like fire, it's a dangerous servant and a fearful master. So pretty good privacy. I don't know if you remember that. I bet Carl does. Yeah, for sure.
I still got my keys somewhere.
Yeah. There was. I had the software. I still got it actually, and it's on one of my on my one of my external drives. I don't use it anymore because I don't need it. Actually, there's more recent versions of it.
It got open.
What it talks about is he's the one that developed it.
Yeah.
And in 1991, and it was open source, and I had it. It was an encryption program that provides cryptographic privacy and authentication for data communication. PGP is used for signing, encrypting, and decrypting texts, emails, files, directories, and whole disk partitions, and to increase security of email communications. And so it was a way of, and I think that was the beginning. That had to start, and that became open source, right? And so that all had to happen to lay the foundation for Bitcoin, in my opinion. So I started looking into Bitcoin in 2015. I set up my Coinbase account in 2015. I bought Bitcoin on Coinbase when all they had available was Bitcoin. And that's when you didn't have to do the KYC and all that stuff. I bought Bitcoin prior to the halving in July of 2016. Since then, Coinbase has expanded to Ethereum, Litecoin, dozens of others. There's hundreds of them now. I sold 11 Litecoin in September of 2016 for around $7. Litecoin is now over $180 and was up as high as $1,200. I currently own Ethereum, Tether, US dollar Tether, Ripple, Currencies, Polygon, Tezos, Stellar, and Ethereum token Veritasium, and others. I buy cryptos at every opportunity. Matter of fact, I'm getting to the point now that I'm dealing strictly in the cryptocurrency venue, and we'll talk about that at the very end, where some of these I have investments that I do that are just in the cryptos, and so I invest cryptos, and then they pay me back in cryptos, and then if I want, I can turn some of them into Federal Reserve notes, but if I want, I'll just reinvest them, or I'll just put them in a wallet, or I do a variety of things. I keep my savings in cryptocurrency in private wallets and very little on an exchange unless I need it there for some reason. Okay, so Exodus wallet. I silenced my phone so it wouldn't interrupt us, but this is my Exodus wallet right here. But you can have, there's actually multiple different kinds. This is a private wallet that's just on my phone. Now, so I've got, there it is right here. I've got about $3,000 in Tether on here, and about $2,500 in Veritasium, and I got some Ethereum. I've had as much as $20,000 in this wallet here, and I sometimes I send it out, and so I use this wallet, and the same wallet is on my computer actually, but the important thing is to save your seed phrase, okay, which is the Exodus is a multiple coin wallet. So technically, there's a private key for all of these wallets, like Tether, Veritasium, Ethereum. There's a public key and a private key, but the C phrase opens up the whole wallet. Whereas if and there's a way I can get the private key out of here and have that recorded, and that would actually give me access to the cryptocurrency. Just that one cryptocurrency is having that private key. But so the point being is that I don't keep it on an exchange because, and we're going to talk a little bit about there. So I put it on an exchange if I need it there for a reason, but otherwise I don't keep it on an exchange because an exchange is like a bank. Exchanges operate the same way as banks. I'm not a very trusting sort. I think that money you have on an exchange is book entries and they use it as they need it. Sometimes they do not have the cryptos available when somebody wants it, wants to take it off the exchange, and that's what they say is we got hacked. But really it's because they embezzled it. But they're never, exchanges always blame it on hackers because otherwise it's called embezzlement. Usually it's when the markets are going down and there's people trying to take money off the exchange more than they have, and so then they go bankrupt is what they do. The solution is to only keep cryptos there that you need for the purpose of program trading, only for whatever purpose, including program trading. Yes, Nelson.
Why does blockchain not prevent that from happening?
It does, except that when it's on an exchange, because they don't I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I know that they go and it's not necessarily on the blockchain when it's on an exchange. You get your own private wallet, you get your own address, but if you want to have it, like I can put it on Coinbase in such a way that they can't have access to it, but if they can't have access to it, I can't either.
So exchanges are basically when cryptos become vulnerable. Would that be a fair statement?
I would say it is, and I would say it is because they work like banks, and so they show that you have these cryptos, but really it's again it's like a bank. You're basically a unsecured loan to the bank when you put it on there, but you can exchange it for something, and I take it off immediately. Like if you go to Coinbase right now, and maybe we'll go to Coinbase right now, and I'll show you my Coinbase account.
Why isn't there a blockchain smart contract for exchanging? It doesn't make any sense to me. Yet.
Yeah. Well, that's some cryptos. The exchanges operate like banks. I can tell you that for sure.
Okay, so are there last question for
See, right now all I have on Coinbase is $29, and
there was an article today or yesterday about Coinbase related to the government. I was wondering if that might be why you're having some trouble with them.
I could tell you that my Coinbase card doesn't work.
They're getting sued or something.
They're not letting me use.
I think it's not them. I think it's the government.
Maybe.
From what I saw.
Is that right?
Possibly.
All I know is my Coinbase card. I use it at Yanni's when we were over there. I've tried to use it at other places, and they're just declining it. And I called them up and rattled their cage, and they refused to do anything about it. They said, "Oh well, it's given to a special department," and they really wouldn't tell me what's going on. And I threatened to sue them, and but nothing's happened, nothing's changed. So I took all my money off of Coinbase. I had some money in there that was going to be available to use, so I could use my Coinbase card and spend it as cryptos. But right now I'm having trouble, so I took it all off. So there's only $29 on Coinbase right now, and I withdrew it. I sent, matter of fact, I sent some of it to my Exodus wallet. That's why I've got $3,000 there, and so
the Coinbase, you were still able to move it off of Coinbase. You just couldn't use it through the card.
Right.
What happened?
Huh?
Is that what happened?
Yeah. Matter of fact, I sent some to my bank account too, and so I've got about $1,100 in my bank account right now, and I was thinking of taking some of that out as cash. I don't like leaving too much in the bank either because I don't trust the banks. But anyways, so yeah, you have to be careful about the exchanges. I only keep it there when I have a purpose. Like I do have about $20,000 on an exchange. It's an overseas exchange because it's open contracts to buy Ripple. And I'm expecting Ripple. Cliff High in his video said it's not going to go down to 20 cents. And I disagree with him. So I have an open transaction to buy some Ripple at 20 cents. and I'm gonna ride it up, and I'll dump it, and I'll make a bunch of money because what'll happen is at some point there's going to be a crash. Well, it's not at 20 cents. There's various prices, a little bit more than 20 cents, but so that's what I'm planning on doing. Anyways, before we talk about cryptocurrencies, we need to talk about some foundational things like money. At common law, only gold or silver are legal tender. There's a distinction between a debt discharged and one paid. When discharged, the debt still exists, though divested of its character as a legal obligation during the operation of the discharge. Discharge falls under the law of nations, which is international law. So when you use cryptos or Federal Reserve notes or anything like that to pay a debt, you really don't pay it, you discharge it. Okay? Because the only way you can really pay a debt is with gold or silver coin. Copies of these documents can be found on my website. For a complete set of YouTube videos with private information, shares a DVD with over 50 searchable law dictionaries and other books and forums, contact me privately at engineerwin@yahoo.com. Donations to support this work are appreciated. I prefer gold or silver coin, but as an extremely less desirable alternative, I can accept the IOUs, the Federal Reserve notes, the checks, the money orders, etc. Send me an email for particulars. So as used in this act, the term United States means government of the United States, and the term currency of the government of the United States means currency which is legal tender in the government of the United States and includes United States notes and Federal Reserve notes. This is the Gold Reserve Act of 1934.
So a United States note today is what, as opposed to a Federal Reserve?
A United States note is one of those that I have in my briefcase. Treasury note, right? It says United States, it says Treasury note.
So are they printing United States notes still?
No.
Okay.
Although Trump is probably, there's rumors that Trump will issue them,
Right.
and they'll be backed by gold.
Right. So, okay, gotcha. So that was the Gold Reserve Act. So because there existed United States notes at that time, that's kind of why they mentioned both of them, perhaps.
Well, the United States notes were actually issued in the Civil War. Okay, and they were
greenbacks?
the greenbacks. Yeah, they financed. It was like $400 million that they issued to finance the Civil War, and a lot of people liked them. The reason is, and if you remember Cliff High talking about it, that to like 1930, there was no inflation. The silver dollar or the gold, the price of gold was worth the same amount of money during that whole time period. So there was no inflation. Now there was, and Cliff High doesn't talk about this, but there was market crashes and fluctuations in the markets, but gold itself remained nice and stable. And so people that had these United States notes were getting money. They were getting payments for the use of their money. And so they liked having U.S. Treasury notes, and they kept them, and they'd get money every period of time. I don't know how often they got it, but they'd get money, and it was I guess it was gold or silver. Go ahead.
What, I thought a United States note was just a piece of paper. How did they get money?
It was the interest, right? Because you got paid interest for them using. It was
like a bond.
It was like a bond, yeah.
So how did the government, whoever was paying for that?
The government was paying for it.
How did someone know? How did the government know I had a U.S. note at that time?
I don't know.
Okay.
This was something I heard that people liked them because they got money. Okay. So maybe I don't know. I don't know how they knew, or I don't know. Federal Reserve notes are commercial paper. Federal Reserve notes are forced loan. Federal Reserve notes are IOUs. All commercial paper falls into two categories: promissory notes and IOUs. A requirement for a promissory note is a promise to pay. Gold certificates and silver certificates were promissory notes because it said right on them, there's a promise to pay. You can go and get some gold or silver at the Treasury. I've got a silver certificate in my briefcase if anybody wants to look at it. We looked at it, I think, last weekend.
Yeah.
This is General Orders 100, Article 37 of the Libre. Religion and morality, strictly private property, the persons of the inhabitants, especially those of women, and the sacredness of domestic relations. Offenses to the contrary will be rigorously punished. This rule does not interfere with the right of the victorious invader to tax the people or their property, to levy forced loans, to billet soldiers, or to appropriate property, especially houses, lands, boats, or ships, and churches for temporary and military uses.
Wasn't that Amendment 3?
Sorry?
Amendment 3 for the billeting of soldiers? They outlawed it, didn't they?
Well, they outlawed that in the Third Amendment, right?
Yeah.
Right. There's a YouTube video recently that I was watching that talked about the Third Amendment. And there's very few court cases that talk about there where people are challenging that based on the Third Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like next to none court cases that talk
It
about
seems
it.
strange that they included it, though.
In the Libra Code, yeah, I know. Yeah.
I don't think that the United States occupying government was willing to go that far because it would be way too obvious.
I think so, yeah. Especially in America.
Exactly. Right. So they basically they try to take away the guns in some states, but they're never occupying the house itself, but they are by virtue of taking ownership.
Well, and so they might, like what it says, they houses, lands, boats, or ships, and churches. Okay, so they might occupy the church and use it to billet soldiers or something. I don't know. I don't think they did any of that, but because usually they went and had camps. I mean, the soldiers had tents they slept in and stuff like that.
I think the appropriation of property is by virtue of Jefferson saying we'll wake up homeless. They did it silently,
right,
through the forced loan.
Well, maybe.
The result is the same.
Yeah, to some extent. And it is a forced loan. You're forced to loan the government money. But people liked it because they got paid, and there was no inflation. So they were getting what they got paid was real payment. It wasn't like, they were losing their money because of inflation or something like that. Anyways,
and just system. It was a closed system.
Yeah.
And that's why it worked and why there was no interest. The problem now is that it's an open system, and the interest
goes into nothing. Inflation.
It's taken out.
Right.
Well, inflation is required because of the fact that they have the interest taken out. So they need to inflate the money supply each time, and then they pull the interest out for their own benefit, pull it somewhere else, do whatever they do with it.
Right.
But then they still have to keep inflating
the money
supply because they need.
In despotic governments, the government is usurped in a similar manner both upon the state and the people. Hence, all arbitrary doctrines and pretensions concerning the supreme, absolute, and uncontrollable power of government. And each man is degraded from the prime rank which he ought to hold in human affairs. In the latter, the state as well as the man is degraded. Of both degradation, striking instances occur in history and politics and in common life. And this is Chisholm versus Georgia, 1792. So cryptocurrency is not a forced loan. Anything can be used as a medium of exchange as long as we agree to it. It's called barter. So the law of nations is an interchangeable phrase with international law. The banks all operate under international law. It's actually private international law, which means it's a contract. Military dictatorship is international law. Uniform Commercial Code is international law. All codes, rules, regulations are actually international law. The forced loans of 1862 and 1863 in the form of legal tender notes were vital forces in the struggle for national supremacy. They form a part of the public debt of the United States. That's U.S. Supreme Court, Juilliard versus Greenman. During the Civil War, they paid government employees with treasury notes. Government employees were forced to loan the government money. When government employees are paid with treasury notes or bank notes, it's a forced loan. Both are government debts. Forced loans is probably the single most important thing for a military despotism. It makes it so the courts presume that you do not pay a debt. It makes everybody into paupers. Paupers have no rights except what they allow you to have. Gold is the money of kings. Silver.
Yes. Oh, you guys are in here? We live right now?
We are in here.
Okay, sorry for the interruption. You want this open?
We were letting a little bit of fresh air in.
Okay, you want me to get a fan?
No, that's fine.
Well, he needs the outside door. Do you want that open?
Well, you can go ahead and close the outside door.
Okay.
Gold is the money of kings. Silver is the money.
I heard today an interesting guy. He was really a genius. He's a Jew who was talking. He said silver is the money of the people.
Yeah, it is. This is Robert H. Hemphill, credit manager of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta for 8 years. And this is something to think about. If all bank loans were paid, no one would have a bank deposit, and there would not be a dollar of currency or coin in circulation. This is a staggering thought. We are completely dependent on the commercial banks. Someone has to borrow every dollar we have into circulation, cash or credit. If the banks create ample synthetic money, we are prosperous. If not, we starve. We are absolutely without a permanent monetary system. When one gets a complete grasp of the picture, the tragic absurdity of our hopeless position is almost incredible. But there it is. The banking problem, is the most important subject intelligent persons can investigate and reflect upon. It is so important that our present civilization may collapse unless it is widely understood and the defects remedied very soon. So, yeah, think about it. I think that, and this is one thing I'm going to talk about tomorrow, I think that, see, the Bitcoin was actually created by DARPA, okay, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. And I think that, I think it was part of the counterinsurgency, that they did it as part of the counterinsurgency because they have an alternative to the bank fake money. And so Bitcoin facilitates transactions, and I think that was all part of it.
Why is Bitcoin not going to be a control mechanism?
Because it's mined by millions of people like me and you all over the world. I've mined Bitcoin. Okay, it's not controlled by the bankers. That's why there's no tax on it either.
But why can't the bankers just use their fake money to buy up all the Bitcoin and basically take over?
To some extent, they're trying to do that, but what it will do is it'll drive up the price of the Bitcoin. There's a limited supply. It's got a blockchain, and then plus people would see it happening, and so that's easier said than done.
But aren't there? How do we know that the 60% of the original Bitcoin isn't being held by those types of people?
I don't dispute that, and a lot of the exchanges are owned by banks. Like there's one in Delaware called Poloniex, and that one's owned by the banks. And so, but the banks, they have their own. They're trying to create a central bank digital currency. Having Bitcoin would defeat their agenda to have a central bank.
That's just a red herring, and the reality is they own it from the get-go.
They might. They don't own all of it for sure.
No.
Because I own some, and I mine some, and there's millions of people all over the planet that mine it.
Okay.
And there's lots of people that are mining it. There's actually mining pools. What's the name of some of those pools I've been involved in? I've been involved in mining pools. The Bitcoins that get awarded get evenly divided amongst the people that are contributing hashes. You see what I'm saying? And so, there's mining pools that you can.
Is there ever a way to mine Bitcoin and lose?
Well, mining Bitcoin costs you power. So, yes, there is. If you use more power than what you get in the Bitcoin, then you can lose. It depends on, if you had free energy, then it wouldn't matter because your energy is free.
So you're basically taking a risk when you mine Bitcoin.
You are, to some extent, yes. These miners, see, the miners cost a lot of money. If you want a miner that's really going to crunch the hashes to mine Bitcoin, it's going to cost you, like there's some of these miners cost you $10,000-$20,000 just for a miner, but it really crunches the hashes, and so you're gonna get some Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is like $80,000 right now, $90,000, $100,000.
Can you lose your shirt?
You know, there's companies that do the mining. I can tell you that for sure. I've heard of whole floors, like in downtown Dallas in those high rises. I've heard of whole floors, and I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it. People have talked about it, where there's whole floors in a high rise that's full of miners, and they have them in there. They have to. The thing is that miners generate a lot of heat, and so they have to cool it. That's where it uses energy, and they have to have cooling because the miners can't overheat, and so they have to have airflow to exhaust the hot air outside. When we were doing the mining, we did it, you know, in the summer and the winter. And the winter, they make a lot of noise. It's a fan, and it's blowing hot air, but we use it in the wintertime to heat the house.
I heard there was some people down in Texas, they don't like the mining going on because it's creating a hum or something.
Well, they do make noise.
Okay, thank you.
Anyways, so Cliff High says we have that in that video I just played. To transition from a debt-related system, all debts have to be extinguished. To some extent, I agree with that, but to some extent, I don't think it's necessary. But there's the debts, it is going to be deflationary for sure. A transition from a debt-related system is deflationary. There's going to cause wild swings in the economy until things settle with a new equilibrium. And I think that's definitely going to happen. The Federal Reserve was set up under the insurance laws of the United States. Federal Reserve notes are worthless insurance script. Anything purchased with worthless insurance script is the property of the issuer of the script. And they don't want to let you know about that. But taxes are the fee for using the private money system. So the real taxes, the only tax that you have when you use Bitcoin is capital gains tax. In other words, when you convert the Bitcoin into Federal Reserve notes, if they can show that you bought that Bitcoin at a lower price and then you sold it at a higher price, then you have a capital gain.
So are we going to talk later about how to beat that?
Sure. Well, I'll tell you how I beat it. I don't keep it on an exchange. I send it off the exchange. Remember, you saw Coinbase. There was like $29 in Coinbase right now. Coinbase is the only one that I did the KYC with. And so Coinbase knows, you know, the straw man. And so so they actually did. I went and checked on the 1099 they had for me, and it said that I made I don't know 78 cents or something like that. And the reason is because I was by using my Coinbase card, I get there was time when I got 3% cash back when I used the Coinbase card. Now it's a 0.5%, and now it's the Coinbase card doesn't even work, so I'm not getting anything. And so that's where they went and, you know, gave me. They said I had 98 cents of capital gains.
So cashback is a profit.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So every time I don't know how that works when a credit card gives me. I never got any.
You see what I'm
It's
saying?
in the same system.
It goes into credit, but with Coinbase, it's a debit card.
I see. Gotcha. That makes sense.
So the taxes are for the fee for using the private money system. To this day, there's no tax on cryptocurrencies. Tax is the capital gains tax. And that happens when you convert cryptocurrency into Federal Reserve notes, and they can show that you bought that cryptocurrency at a set price, and when you sold it for more than what you bought. And so then they can show that you had a capital gain. And so that the capital gain is for the capital gain in Federal Reserve notes. So what I do is I never keep anything on Coinbase. I put it in my Exodus wallet or any wallet off of Coinbase. And if I'm going to have it, and then when it's on Coinbase, I'll keep it there as Tether, okay, which is US dollar Tether. And it's a stable coin. It's supposed to stay around $1. And so, so if you never convert the crypto to Federal Reserve notes, there's nothing to report. Okay, so there's a lot of businesses now that are actually accepting Bitcoin. Like you do a search online, auto dealers that accept, oops, right here. Buy cars with Bitcoin. Crypto Emporium. There we go. Crypto Emporium. You can buy cars with Bitcoin. 2020 Rolls Royce. 3.6286 Bitcoin. 6286 Bitcoin, yeah. That 2020 Rolls Royce.
Yeah, 300,000 plus American dollars.
Right. So, but the point is that it's available, and you can pick your car. Let's buy a Chevy. How about a Chevy? Oh, there's Camaros and Corvettes, and it's half a Bitcoin. Buy a 23 Chevy Camaro SS Coupe for 5.8 Bitcoin. I guess that means it's about $60,000 car. Yeah. Get rid of that. How about a Dodge? There's a Challenger. So those Challengers are pretty expensive. 8.91 Bitcoin, about $80,000. Damn.
How about up on the top it says property? What property will this crypto emporium?
Buy a house with Bitcoin. Yep. 6-bedroom estate in Mexico. 1-bedroom apartment in Vienna. 6-bedroom Cairo. 225 Bitcoin. 8-bedroom manor in Norway. It's pretty nice houses. 4-bedroom apartment in Hong Kong. Damn. 4-bedroom house in Las Vegas. So yeah, and there's this is just one website. So so the point being is there's lots of places that you can buy, you can spend your Bitcoin, and then if you think about it, it's a tax-free exchange. The IRS doesn't know anything about it, and they don't want to know anything about it because no Federal Reserve notes were used. So hyperinflation is caused by the velocity of the currency. Quantitative easing failed to cause hyperinflation because they gave it to the bankers who invested in stocks. Mostly stocks got inflated. The velocity is the number of times currency changes hands. When you get hyperinflation, you get to the point where the real bad hyperinflation is when people want to get rid of their money as quick as possible because it's inflating so fast. So they get their money and they spend it as quick as they can, and that's why during the Weimar Germany they would run to the store with a wheelbarrow
for hyperinflation, but I think it's got an awful lot to do with confidence. It's the confidence in the government.
Oh, absolutely,
and the
absolutely.
Money.
Yeah, Cliff High.
So does the money.
Cliff High said that hyperinflation only lasts about 6 weeks because when that kind of stuff happens, then the government collapses. The government will just be gone, and which he talked about that in that video that I showed you there. Weimar Germany hyperinflation. People would run to the store with a wheelbarrow full of money and nothing would be there to buy. In hyperinflation, supply lines break down because truckers lose money in the time it takes to deliver a load and get paid. Hyperinflation lasts about 6 weeks and causes the collapse of the government. If we do get hyperinflation, the cities will be the absolute worst place to be because the lockdown farmers are destroying milk and other crops because restaurants are closed. Okay, that was back in 2021. Um, Recently, though, there's been articles about major crop failures, and so that's a recipe for food prices to go up, which, that may or may not cause hyperinflation. It'll cause inflation, but whether it causes hyperinflation or not, I think that having your wealth spread around with silver and things like that is always a good idea, and Bitcoin. Cliff High writes computer code. He discovered in the 1990s that we're all psychic but do not know it, but it comes out in when we use our words. He developed a web bot that scrapes the internet looking for changes in how we use our words, and his data set said there will be a bond market crash. And this is actually an email I got. I went and subscribed to Jim Rickards' newsletter, and this is an email he sent me here on the 21st of April, which is about 5 days ago. And it says the bond market crash is real. One of gold's best week. The bond market crash is happening, and Jim Rickards he's a retired Admiral Rickards. He was former chief counsel at Long Term Capital Management, and which was the first bailout that happened in 1997. And so, if there's anybody that knows what's going on, it's him for sure. And he's also he does training at the War College, teaches officers in the military about warfare, about probably especially as the markets are concerned and stuff, how to see what's going on. So anyways, the crash of the stock market in 1929 did not cause the Great Depression. It was the bond market crash that happened a couple years later. The bond market is huge. Okay, it makes the stock market look like dinky toys. Looks very minor by comparison. The bond market, think about it. The bonds are all of the bonds and the U.S. government. Think about it. It's what, $37 trillion in debt? Well, those are all bonds, and those are all traded on the bond market. And so then it's not just the U.S. government. There's European bonds. There's bonds. Every country in the world that's heavily in debt is issuing bonds. So that's municipal bonds. There's all sorts of kinds of bonds. And so the bond market is huge. They say, Jim Rickards said that I think he said there was $4 quadrillion worth of derivatives. Okay. And so we'll see how all this plays out. Derivatives have to be backed up by bonds. And by T-Bay, he said that they had derivatives, right? So the bonds that Silicon Valley Bank had to back up their derivatives were only worth 85 cents on the dollar. And that's why Silicon Valley Bank went down, because they didn't have capital. And so what happened after that is the Federal Reserve came out and said that they would reimburse all bonds at par. Okay, and at par means that they're at face value. So it's not 85 cents on the dollar; it's full value. You see what I'm saying? And that stopped all of that stuff from happening. They bailed out a bunch of banks. The bond market, the bond price works inversely to the yield. Yield is the interest rate. So when the price goes down, interest rate goes up. So if the bond market is crashing right now, that means interest rates are going up. And when that happens, the Federal Reserve just has no control over that whatsoever. Okay? So Trump, when Trump came out recently and started calling, what's his name? Powell, calling him names. He said, what did he call him? He said he called him names. I think he's setting them up to take the blame. Okay, because Trump knows what's going down, and he's setting them up to blame the Federal Reserve for it. You see what I'm saying? Anyways, and so the Federal Reserve setting interest rates means absolutely nothing to the bond market.
But doesn't the Federal Reserve, don't they either issue or buy bonds? So how, they kind of
They're the
control.
bank of last resort, so they don't issue the bonds, but they will buy them if nobody else does, and that's what's happening.
Well, yeah, and what happens is that the all banks, okay, Jim Rickards talks about this too. He says all banks that are part of the Federal Reserve System, and that's the deal, okay. And some of these banks are kind of shaky, and so what they have to do is they have to go to the Federal Reserve. They'll buy some bonds because they have to, but they'll turn around and go to the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve will buy them back. That's called repos, repurchases. Okay, they're called repos, which is short for repurchase, and also they use this exchange stabilization fund to buy the bonds too, and so it's basically a shell game, and in fact, Jim Willies talked about that. He said that they've actually, and that's the problem, is that with Trump, he's is why there's um, it's not a bankruptcy. It's kind of similar to a bankruptcy, but what's happening is that there's a repudiation going on where these countries that normally bid on the bonds don't want to buy them anymore, and so they're saying what 107 is saying is that they're going to come out with gold-backed bonds here, probably in about another year. Is they'll have where you can buy a bond and it'll be payable in gold, and so then that'll encourage people to buy the bonds because they know that they'll at least get the gold, when the bond matures. How that all plays out, I'm not sure, because the price of gold is supposed to go up, and so they got to, a big problem too is that they rig the price of gold. They keep the price of gold down, and I think that
Who is they?
the bankers.
Okay.
So what I think is going to happen is that what they will do is instead of having a Federal Reserve, it'll be Treasury issued bonds payable in gold, which will circumvent the Federal Reserve, and so that's part of what.
Your camera just something just happened.
Okay, I'll
Oh, there
fix
it
it.
is.
I
Took
need to
took a second.
put another battery in it. That's about right. Okay. All right.
changing the battery, folks who are in the audience. Be about another less than 5 minutes, probably.
There's tea over here if anybody wants any.
I just got some and I opened my own there, and I'll take that with me.
Okay. So, as far as cryptocurrencies are concerned, Bitcoin was the first. There'll be a maximum of 21 million coins. There are thousands of cryptocurrencies right now. If you go to CoinMarketCap, shows over 5,000 cryptocurrencies. Let's actually go there. CoinMarket. Okay. Okay, right here is CoinMarketCap. Here's Bitcoin. Total market capitalization is 1.87 trillion. Ethereum is the second most and is 217 billion. And then Tether is 147 billion. Ripple is fourth. So this basically organized by how the market cap. How many does it say there are? Looking there. There's even Trump coins.
What's that website?
CoinMarketCap.
Thank you.
CoinMarketCap.com. I'm not sure. Show 100. Show all. Anyways, there's thousands of them. So to continue on with cryptocurrencies, Many are mined. Some of them, Ripple, Cardano, and others are bankster created, and they're not mined. Okay, there's some of them that are casino coins. You know, all the casinos are going to cryptocurrencies too, and it's like the .com craze of the '90s. Many will explode, like Amazon.com, eBay.com, etc., and many will disappear. So, what is blockchain? Blockchain is a distributed ledger. Um, Thousands of computers across the planet have a complete copy of the blockchain. Blockchain is a public address and an amount. Every time there's a transaction, it's added to the end of the blockchain. So let's Bitcoin blockchain. Blockchain Explorer. Blockchain.com. I'm not sure if that's what I was looking for. I can tell you Etherscan. Yeah, this is the Ethereum blockchain right here. Latest transactions. Every minute, there's 5 seconds ago. Okay, there's transactions that are happening. You know, I don't know if it's hundreds every second but there's a bunch, and they're happening all the time. This is not showing them happening, but they are happening. And let's see, is that showing in here? No, it's not. Right, this is Ethereum Scan, which is the Ethereum blockchain. Transactions 2,781,000,000.93 2,781.93 million transactions. So all the transactions that ever happen are in the blockchain. The market capitalization is 218 billion. View all transactions. There we go. Show from and to. And the amount, see here, 13 seconds ago. So there's the same thing for Bitcoin too, and any other crypto. They have a website where you can go and look at all the transactions that are happening.
So because of the anonymity, so when sometimes there's that, a cold wallet that's been, for 3, 4, 5 years, all of a sudden they bring out, a bunch to liquidate. How do we know that's not part of the manipulation, even though it's blockchain?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, they're basically sitting on money they created without work, because not all Bitcoin was generated from miners, correct? Or was it?
There was, I think there was like 1 million Bitcoin that there's this guy by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. And we're going to go into that some more, okay? But he's supposed to have a million coins that are reserved for himself. That might be DARPA that has them. And so then at $98,000 a coin, that's essentially DARPA that has them. So then that's quite a bit of money right there. I don't know. But I know that the folklore is, if you go to, there's actually websites that you can go that tell you the history of Bitcoin and all of that stuff. And, that'll tell you, that he kept 1 million coins. But there was, we'll go through how many was created in the first year. Thousands of computers across the planet have a complete copy of the blockchain. Blockchain's a public address and an amount. Every time there's a transaction, it's added to the end of the blockchain. Mine cryptocurrencies have a blockchain. I have mined about a dozen different coins. With every transaction, the entire blockchain has to be verified. The blockchain's a huge file. When you download the core software, it takes days to get the entire blockchain. I can tell you that for sure because I've done it. This is slowing down transactions. Developers are developing ways to speed up the transactions. Litecoin and other cryptos use the Lightning Network, okay? And that's a way of abbreviating. They still check the entire blockchain and verify it, but they can verify the transaction that you're trying to do quicker, so that it doesn't hold up, what you're trying to do. When there's a lot of activity, I've seen it take a couple days for a transaction to complete. This was back, in 2017, okay, and what they've done is they've done some things to speed it up since then, but like what they do is they come out with some changes to the algorithm to speed things up so that they can. But the file is getting huge because it's right now it's it started in 17 years of transactions, and ultimately it could be potentially hundreds of years. Anyways, so they use the Lightning Network, which makes it a lot quicker. I can tell you that for sure. When there's a transaction, it's not considered a complete until it's been verified a minimum number of times. And so that's why it shows as a pending transaction, because the minimum number of verifications has not been satisfied. So what will happen is if I send some coins, some cryptos to Coinbase, it'll show there immediately. It'll show it there as a pending transaction, but it needs to verify several times. 6 times, they say, 6 times or 10 times, depending on the blockchain. It needs to verify. So in other words, there'll be several transactions that'll go through, and when they go through, then it verifies that coin again a second time. See what I'm saying? And so so let's go to Coinbase. You'll see the transactions happening on Coinbase. Coinbase is actually, there's a lot of stuff going on Coinbase. Now this is Coinbase. And we'll go to advanced.
Did you switch over?
Huh?
Did you switch over on YouTube?
Good point. I'll let you have that one. Oh, right. There we go. They're trying to get people to do futures trading, and I don't particularly like futures trading. But so this is Bitcoin US dollar. So let's go to Bitcoin Ripple. See, these are transactions that are happening live right here. Those are sells and buys. And those are live just on Coinbase. And there's, probably 50 exchanges all around the world, and they're doing the same thing. And so this is second level trading. And so that you're seeing this is just on Ripple. This is US dollar and Ripple. And so those are just the transactions on US dollar and Ripple. And Bitcoin and the US dollar, see, those are transactions that are happening. That's just on Coinbase. See, it's moving pretty fast. You know, hundreds of transactions every minute, I'd say. And this is on Coinbase. So you know, there's, see how fast that's going past? These are sell transactions and these are buy. Those are market transactions. You can also do a limit transaction. That's why I like an exchange, and that's why I have, like I said, I had $20,000 on an exchange, not Coinbase, but on an exchange where I have an open transactions to buy Ripple at 21 cents, 22 cents, and they're open transactions. They're limit transactions, and
Isn't that tying up your capital though?
it is. But if they execute, then I'll get Ripple at a really screaming price. And at some point, I might cancel the transactions. I can cancel them anytime. They'll just sit there to the price, my target price. They'll just execute automatically. I'll wake up one morning, and I'll have some Ripple, and it's for about 78,000 Ripple, and right now Ripple's at 20 cents. This is dollar and Bitcoin. Right now Ripple's at $2. No, Ripple's at let me look. I have CoinMarketCap on my phone too. Is at $2.20. So if it dips down to 20 cents and then goes back up to $2.20, then that's like 10 times I'll make on my money. And so then if I have $20,000, that'll be $200,000. So you can see that's what's happening just in one pair on Coinbase, and those transactions are going by pretty fast. Those are market transactions, and people can have a limit transaction. It'll just sit there open, waiting to execute. It's called program trading, and they do that stuff all the time. So that's advanced. I don't usually go there. I usually have it on this basic one, but my transactions right here. So this is where I sent some to my private wallet, and this is where I withdrew funds to my bank account. I sold some Tether, and I sold it for dollars, and then I withdrew the dollars. See what I'm saying? So these are just transactions that I did. And so the thing is, back to the PowerPoint presentation. These Litecoin and these other cryptos use the Lightning Network, which is faster, but it's because of how they verify the transaction. It's the verification that makes it faster. It's done, and you'd have to go on the website and see exactly how they do it. There's a Lightning Network website. When there's a transaction, it's not considered complete until it's been verified as a minimum number of times. That's why it shows pending. And all of those transactions you see in my on Coinbase showed pending until it got completed. So this is This is Etherscan that I showed you here. Oh, this is CoinMarketCap. And this is what I showed you already. So comparison, gold or silver can be counterfeited. It's not infinitely divisible. There's no authenticity verification. Storage, it can be lost or stolen. Portable, not necessarily. Recognized, but not necessarily accepted. Taxes, yes and no. Anonymity, yes. Federal Reserve notes can be counterfeited, is not infinitely divisible. There's no authenticity verification except when you use an ATM. When you go to an ATM, the ATM is supposed to verify the authenticity or it won't accept them. Recognized everywhere. Taxes, yes. Anonymity, maybe. Some banks require ID for any cash deposit. Transactions over certain limits precipitate reporting requirements. So it's not necessarily anonymous. And if you like start depositing more than $1,000 in cash, then all of a sudden they want to know information about you to report. Cryptocurrencies cannot be counterfeited, is infinitely divisible. Authenticity verifications completed when used. Cannot be stolen from a wallet, but it can be lost. Portable, yes, it's completely portable. Recognized, it's growing. Taxes, no. Anonymity, yes, some more than others. Okay, some cryptos are more anonymous than others. Now, you have to understand that, and we're going to go into that some more, but that blockchain, they can get agencies like the FBI and stuff like that can get information from that blockchain and use it to build a case against you if they're investigating you for money laundering or something like that. Otherwise, there's nothing they can say to you. So don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow me on Truth Social. Don't forget to follow me on Steemit at Sovereignty International as Truth Social's Engineer Win. I've deleted my X profile because they were censoring me. Don't forget to like this video on YouTube. Don't forget to click the bell next to the subscribe button so you're notified when there's a new upload. And on Steemit, don't forget to vote and make your comments. This is the front page of my channel. The arrow is pointing at the bell. The subscribe button's already been clicked, otherwise it'll be red. And the bell is for notifications. And this is that Etherscan website that we looked at a minute ago. That's where Ethereum, that's the blockchain for Ethereum. And when you do a transaction, like when you do exceedingly, they want to know the transaction. It's a link you have to click on to get it. And so that exceedingly can make sure and tie you to the transaction. You know what I mean? Make sure that they're giving you credit for what you did. So cryptocurrencies, my way of selection. So first of all, caveat emptor, buyer beware. Do your own research. Is it mined? That means it's made by we the people if it's mined. And that's my number one criteria. I'm not interested in anything that's not mined, except, you know, Ripple is not mined, but I'm going to make some money and then I'm going to dump it. And I'll just make some money on it briefly and get rid of it. Is it a debt to somebody? Actually, the courts have ruled that Ripple's not a security, so that means it's not a debt to anybody. The Bankster paper currency is always a debt to somebody. Bankster cryptocurrencies, Ripple Cardano, is an infinite supply. It's not mined, and it is created only by them. So it's basically, you know, there's no limit on how much they make. They can inflate it all they want. I wouldn't. The only reason I'm interested in Ripple is to make a few bucks. So this is the mining of Bitcoin. Started in 2008, and in 2041, that's when it'll have 21 million Bitcoin. This is how it's going to be mined in this graph. It was created by the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, The on the internet, it's supposed to have been by a guy by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, there's supposed to be a guy by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto that lives in Los Angeles, and he doesn't know anything about it.
I
But
haven't found anybody that is putting their hand up to that one.
yeah,
Supposedly.
no shit. It uses the SHA-256 encryption algorithm. The smallest part of Bitcoin is called a Satoshi. That's where it comes from, is the name of the guy, and that's 0.00000001. Okay, so to the eighth smallest increment of Bitcoin. Now, if Bitcoin gets really expensive, they'll just extend those digits out. I can tell you right now, and they've already done that with Ethereum. Ethereum goes to the 10th decimal place, and so it used to only go to the 8th decimal place, but it's going to the 10th decimal place now, and so they'll just extend it out if it gets really expensive. And so that's the nice thing about cryptos, though, is you can infinitely divisible. I believe that Bitcoin is part of the counterinsurgency launched by the military. Okay, and with Trump and all the rest of it. So these guys in the military that are doing this are brilliant, and I thank God for them, because they're going to restore a republic, and at least that's what I'm hoping they're going to do. It looks like that's what they're going to do. I don't think Trump would participate with them if they weren't. At the beginning of Bitcoin in 2008, the creator chose 50 Bitcoin to come into existence every 15 minutes. 2,625,000 Bitcoins were created in the first year. So, Satoshi, kept a million, from what I've heard. Whoever Satoshi is, maybe it's the, uh, Defense Research Intelligence, DARPA. Anyways, every 4 years, the number of Bitcoins that are mined are cut in half. In 2012, the number of Bitcoins mined were cut in half to 25 every 15 minutes. So it went 2008, and then 2012 it went to 25. 2016 it was cut in half to 12 and a half coins every 15 minutes. In 2020 it was cut in half to 6.25 coins every 15 minutes. In 2024 it cut in half again to 3.25. No, 3.125. Every 15 minutes. And in 2028, it would be cut in half again to 1.06 to 15 minutes. In 2140, 21 million Bitcoins will have been created, and no more Bitcoins will ever be created. And again, this is the mining chart.
It's interesting that if one flips that chart, it would basically go to infinite money on the way up. So they basically maybe are just bringing it back to stable money supply, some sort of stability.
Well, I think also that it's let the cat out of the bag, and so there's other people creating their own cryptocurrencies like Litecoin. Litecoin is going to have 84 million instead of 21 million, but Dogecoin doesn't have any limit. There's no limit on the number of coins those will create. I have mined Dogecoins, so anybody can mine them. It's not like it's some private sort of thing. You know what I mean? But so I've mined Dogecoins, but that was one of the things that I learned because when I mine something, I want to, find out about it, and that was one of the things I learned, is that there's no limit on the number of Dogecoins that'll be mined. So cryptocurrency mining uses processor time to crunch numbers. You can buy mining computers and mining cards for desktop computers. The best mining computers are also good gaming computers with powerful video cards. Mining costs power. Countries with low power rates have a lot of miners, like Venezuela. YouTube videos go into it in detail. There's lots of YouTube videos about how to set up a mining rig. And there's lots of different kinds of mining rigs. There was a guy that was that's mining. He created this Texas coin in Texas, And he showed me. I went and looked at his miners, and he's got them in oil, actually cooking oil. Actually, it's not cooking oil; it's mineral oil. There's no noise. The mineral oil gets warm, and so he's got a heat exchanger, and so that it pumps the oil through this. It's a radiator, right, and cools off the oil. But other than that, he's got them in this tub, I guess you'd call it, which is a container that's about the size of the kitchen table there, and you see them there in the oil, and they're running. And the mineral oil is not conductive, so they run and they work fine in there, right? It's immersed in mineral oil.
Hmm.
And I was actually doing that too, actually, with some mining stuff that I was doing, and I had a mining rig set up with mineral oil, and they were immersed, and we had a heat exchanger in the back room back there. It went out the window to the outside, and exhausted the heat outside, and we did that for a while. But you know, um, in the summertime it gets hot in Texas, so you don't need extra heat. You know what I mean?
So why would, if there's profit in every mining operation because of the work being expended,
Right.
wouldn't it just behoove anyone to invest and continue to just keep investing in additional miners?
You got to be committed to it. You keep your power costs down, okay? And if you know Darren, he's really big on his expenses, and the cost of power. He doesn't even like running the air conditioner in the summertime. He won't run the house air conditioner for sure. And so that window air conditioner in the back room is the only one that gets run, and that's the only reason. I told him, I put my foot down and I said, look, I'm not staying here if I don't have air conditioning. I'm paying top dollar for this room. I expect a room with air conditioning. and put set up in that room so that it was working. And then when he saw it was working, he offered to buy it from me. And so then he bought it, and he pays for the electricity. But I just told him, look, you want me to pay full price for this room, market price, what normal rental, all your junk out of there. I had to put my foot down, and so he got all his junk out of there, and he was anyways.
So why wouldn't people just continue to build miners?
Because they're
money.
very, very expensive.
They can be expensive, let me tell you.
There's a payback period, and is there any risk other than is there risk of loss?
Not really. I mean, it's just how quick.
How long it'll take to recoup.
The what happens is that, remember, let's go back here. Right now it's 2024. It's 3.125 coins every 15 minutes. And so there's all sorts of miners all around the world contributing hashes. You don't know if you're going to get one of those 3.125 coins. You have no idea. Okay?
So it's basically
So-
a potential 100% loss?
No. What people do is they contribute to a pool. Okay, there's mining pools. And so you can contribute to a pool where a bunch of miners will contribute to a pool, and then the pool, when they get awarded coins, then they divide it equally amongst the miners based on the hashes they contributed to the pool. You see what I'm saying? And so if you contributed a lot of hashes, then you'll get more Bitcoin, and so that'll give you something at least. If you have to do it all on your own, you can. There's nothing stopping you from just doing it all on your own and contributing the hashes, but the chances of it's down to 3.125. So what I would do, quite frankly, is if I was mining, I would probably not do Bitcoin, okay? Because the chances of getting a coin is like next to nothing, okay? I would do something else, like I'd look into Litecoin. I'd look into some other cryptos. There's lots of cryptos. There's actually websites that will tell you, and based on the cost of electricity and how efficient it is to mine. Okay, and the miners are actually quite expensive. Let's go to.
Excuse me, I have an appointment with a roofer. I have to step out for a few minutes.
Okay, no problem. Let's go to eBay. So this is eBay. This is a good place to buy miners. If you want to buy a miner, S19, that's an older miner too, $479. S9, we used to have S9s, $134 a piece. Some of them are really expensive. I'm not sure the miners that this guy has. You can even get USB miners. I was doing some USB mining. 369. Let's go back up here and we'll start with this is a container immersion cooling. Okay, so it's a shipping container, and they got an immersion cooling powered mine inside this thing. So there's all sorts of different kinds of things that you can set up. Well, let's price highest, price plus shipping highest first. There we go. So this is a used ant miner for 2 million. Wow. I guess it's because it's probably one of the latest. I mean, those things, the really, really sophisticated ones. Here's one for 495,000, free shipping. We'll give it to you for free shipping for 495,000. And so, but I mean, this thing's going to crunch those hashes. I'm telling you, you're gonna get a bunch of hashes, but even then, I can just about guarantee you that a lot of people would put these things in oil, in mineral oil, and run them that way. But so they can be expensive, right? 284,000. But I mean, all you need is to get, how many coins do you need to pay that off at Bitcoin if you're going to mine Bitcoin, Here's looks like a bunch of them. I don't know if you get all of them or pick up only 60 miles. It's over 60 miles from 76. Yeah, that's my snail mail address. That's where I'm at. Pick up only 165,000. So this looks like, let's see what this is.
You need a truck to take it away.
It looks like a shipping container. Yeah, see, there's all the miners inside. See them?
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's so expensive. But it's going to crunch those hashes. Let me tell you. So what you have to do is you do your research and decide which one you want to get, and what's going to give you what you're looking for. $85,000 container complete. So Bitcoin mining is big business. If you could set it up where you had, like, if you had a free energy device where you could, then it would really be worthwhile, eh? You'd have to buy the miner, but it would be crunching those hashes. See, look at this. A lot of 100 S19s. That's the miner that we had, a lot of 100 of them. I'd probably be more interested in something more. See, S21 pre-owned 36,000. S19 is a pretty good miner. The problem is they use a lot of power too. You got to 10 used S21s for 36,000, so that means $3,600 a piece. Uses 3,500 watts, 200 terahashes. Okay, so a tera is a billion, and so that's one miner. 10 used S21s at 200 terahashes, 3,500 watts. It's gonna draw a lot of power.
Yeah.
You have to set up
electric bill.
Yeah, oh yeah, big time. And you'd have to have special wiring for it to handle the power, because it'll be like 220 or something like that. But it's gonna so these miners can be really expensive. So the important thing is crypto trading is nothing more than gambling. Bitcoin was censored by Silicon Valley by limiting the block size to 1 megabyte. You need to get the truth that only Bitcoin SB actually is valuable because it can be adapted by the whole world. I disagree. Ether is a scam too. That's open to debate. For blockchain to be usable, it has to have unlimited block size. Mining theory is wrong. Who owns the product name? Satoshi is Craig Wright. He owns the white paper patent. Craig Wright won the Kleinman versus Wright trial as the sole creator of Bitcoin. Well, that's possible. That's possible. Mining is meant to be a competition to keep the chain from being corrupted. Litecoin SB has unlimited block size for world adoption. I'm not sure. I haven't really studied it that much lately. That's interesting that you say that. So anyways, there's a lot of different kinds of miners, and you can spend a lot of money on it. The biggest problem is the power consumption and the cost of the miner. And there's lots of different kinds of see, people are selling these containers. You just put them outside, a shipping container basically outfitted to be a mining unit. Here's a mining setup right here. Somebody's gotten, looks like in a container. It's hard to say. See, it's in this rack. It's got a bunch of miners. So you're paying for all of the miners. There's the cooling fans blowing the hot air outside. See, they've set this whole shipping container up to do that, but they got special power. It's probably one of those 25-foot containers. Anyways, so back to the PowerPoint presentation. So the Bitcoin halving in 2012, this is what happened. you can see where it went from $100 to $260 and then crashed. So there's like major opportunity. When you get swings like that, you can make a lot of money. And these kind of swings happen every time within 18 months. So look here, this is in remember January 2013, right? It's within 18 months of the halving that it does this kind of stuff. So here's Bitcoin halving in 2016, right? So this is 2017 when it happened. This is like, matter of fact, it was December. I remember this because I went and I wrote it all the way up and then I wrote it all the way down.
Yeah.
So you know, that's why I reevaluate it, and I'm going to do the swing trading. I'll buy low, I'll sell high, and you know, if it goes up beyond where I buy it, I don't care. I'm not going to worry about it. I don't get caught up in it. I have a target, and I just go for my target. I might, maybe I'll take profit. They call it licking your ice cream. You know, take my profit, and so. Anyways, that's in 2016. It's called blockchain technology. There's a core software. There's Bitcoin Core. There's Litecoin Core. Bitcoin Core contains every transaction that's ever taken place encoded into the blockchain. It's impossible to counterfeit a mined cryptocurrency. So what happens if there's a power failure? Have you ever heard of the Carrington event? The Carrington event was in the 1870s. There was a solar flare that set telegraph stations on fire. So think about that. What is that? That is, there was a solar flare that the energy from the sun came down so close to the earth, to the surface of the earth, and it was sparking off of the only thing that conducted electricity at the time, which was telegraph wires, onto whatever nearby, with such ferocity that anything that was flammable nearby got set on fire, and which was telegraph stations. And so that would be a pretty interesting thing to watch, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But so anyways, so nowadays, first of all, you know, they pretty well have all sorts of protections built in for lightning and things like that into the power lines. But even if it took out our power grid, say in North America, this part of the earth that's not facing the sun is not going to be affected by it at all. And so these mining machines are running all over the world, and the ones on the other side of the planet are going to be just fine. And so it's not going to affect the ones on the other side of the planet. This is a screenshot of some mining that I did. This is where I was mining Digibyte and Einsteinium and Flow. This is back when I was mining. This is when I was doing the mining. Matter of fact, I think I was using thumb drives at that time. Because of the blockchain, it is possible to find out information. In other words, how much Bitcoin was sent to a given Bitcoin address. And they can also find out IP addresses. Because of privacy concerns, other cryptocurrencies like Monero and Cloak, they use, if they're really concerned about privacy, they'll use Monero or Cloak. And Monero is supposed to be impossible to trace, but Cloak. So anyways, there's FBI stings. People buy and sell cryptocurrencies on Craigslist and other websites. Sometimes these transactions are in cash. So if you meet someone and they offer to pay cash, and then they make a comment that it's drug money that they're using to buy the cryptos, you know, that's a setup for a money laundering charge. Think about it. So I would give them back their cash and tell them to get lost. Poloniex in Delaware is owned by the banksters. Cryptology in New Zealand is bankrupt. Coinbase in San Francisco. The cryptocurrency exchanges can be hacked, and bitcoins have been stolen. Well, it's hard to say whether they were stolen or just, well, the exchanges themselves, I think, are the ones that are doing it, but they just blame it on hackers. It's easy. It's an easy escape. Cryptocurrencies on an exchange are an account, which is a contract. Bankruptcy of the exchange can cause loss of coins. I wouldn't keep any more on the exchange than what you need to accomplish whatever you want. Like for some transactions. If you have a transaction you want to do, I send it there, I do the transaction, I get it off. Bank accounts can be hacked. If the banks go bankrupt, you lose the money. That's FDIC insured. But with crypto exchanges, there's no insurance.
Debatable whether you get your FDIC money either.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I've talked about that recently. I knew some people in Utah one time that the savings and loans. You remember the savings and loans?
Yeah.
And they had money. They had $60,000 in a savings and loan, and it was like 9 months later, and they still hadn't got their money. So there's decentralized exchanges. There's Shapeshift and Changely. There's other ones. So when you use the Exodus wallet or you use the Coinomi wallet, they use a decentralized exchange. So you can send it off, and you have to pay a fee, but it's a decentralized exchange. So they don't care who you are. There's no way of knowing who you are. They're not asking who you are. The crypto is just exchange. You see what I'm saying? And so, which is kind of nice. It's anonymous, and it's convenient and easy, although there is a fee. There's always a fee.
Yeah.
Multiple coin wallets, Coinomi, Jack's Liberty, Mycelium, Exodus. There's dozens of wallets available. And the best, I like Exodus, but I also have Coinomi wallets. I have Mycelium. I got Jack's Liberty. But I don't think I have anything. I've got some in a Coinomi wallet, and I don't think I have anything in the Jack's Liberty or Mycelium wallets. But I've got a couple different Exodus wallets in different phones with different seed phrases. Cold storage means it's not on the internet. There's you can use a Trezor, which is a cold storage wallet, or a thumb drive. I like an old cell phone. And an old cell phone, the nice thing about an old cell phone is it doesn't have to be activated. So this is what the Trezor wallet looks like. An old cell phone doesn't have to be activated. You use the Wi-Fi capability. You install a coin. The cryptocurrencies are actually kept in the blockchain, so make sure that when you install that app, you record the seed phrase and put it down somewhere safe. Because if you drop that phone in a bucket of water, as long as you have that seed phrase, then you can restore. You can get another phone and restore the wallet, and everything will still be there. Because the cryptocurrencies are actually kept in the blockchain, even with the Trezor. Okay, I don't care what wallet you have. The cryptocurrencies are actually in the blockchain, so you don't have to worry about losing it as long as you have that seed phrase. That's why I just soon use an old cell phone. And then when you have it all set up and your cryptos are in there, you just turn it off and you put it away, and it's cold storage. Yes.
Didn't your friend Wanda, though, the reason why she likes the Trezor or the other ones is because then you can do the immediate the QR codes and I guess you could do that with any phone.
You could. All you need is Wi-Fi.
Okay.
All you need is Wi-Fi. As long as you had the private key or the seed phrase, you'll be able to get access to the cryptocurrency from anywhere on the planet. Litecoin is scheduled to create 84 million coins and gets halved every 4 years. Cliff High said that his data set showed Litecoin being 1/4 the price of Bitcoin. So think about it. Right now, Bitcoin's what? $90,000? If Litecoin was 1/4 the price of Bitcoin, it would be 45, 2250, $22,500, right? And right now, Litecoin is, let me see what it is. It's probably about $100. So there's lots of upside potential on Litecoin. Litecoin is $87.45. I'm playing my swings with Ripple. I'll buy a bunch of Litecoin because at some point it's going to correct and go up to, the price of 1/4 the price of Bitcoin. Amazon is looking at accepting Litecoin. Litecoin's very fast. It uses the Lightning Network. So I have exclusive content available on HowTube. HowTube controls the billing. It's $9.99 a month for the videos plus unlimited email consultations, but I'm not a liar. Well, I'm an attorney. No, I'm a liar. But I can tell you what I would do under certain circumstances and where to find the forms. The only power that these New World Order Satanists have over us is through fraud and deception, and my agenda is to expose it all for all our benefit, but I cannot fight all the battles. Some of my exclusive content is the Arlington Private Information Share, land deed training. There's, I think, a couple videos up there on that. Estoppel certificates training, foreclosure estoppel certificates training, corporate denial training, toll roads notice and demand training, invoice training, notice of void judgment training, revocation of signature training, third-party witness training, federal habeas corpus training, revocation of voter registration, criminal complaint training. I got about 3 videos on that. Lawsuit training, I got 1 video on that, and I need to probably do some more. Other training requests, I'm open to any ideas, but it's got to be something that falls within the scope of my channel, and also that I haven't already done. I've got over 600 videos up there already, so I've done a lot of stuff, let me tell you. Also, some of the Northeast Private Information shares will be exclusive, and some of them will be public. All forms, files, and other instructions are available for free in my 2 private groups at freelist.org and Google Groups. All exclusive content will be available on HowTube, and you can buy a subscription there. And I have no control over the billing, so don't send me $10 and ask me to sign you up, because I can't do it. You got to go there and jump through their hoops to get signed up. Sorry. When you send cryptocurrencies, there's a fee. There's always a fee. It's not very big. It's called juice or gas. Recently, somebody sent me crypto exchanges charge fees. There's always fees. But crypto exchanges have the lowest fees compared to other ones. Cryptocurrencies are infinitely divisible. Like, for example, Bitcoin, a kilobit is 1,000 of a Bitcoin, which is 0.001 Bitcoin. It can go smaller as needed, millibits, gigabits, or a Satoshi, which is 1 to the 8th decimal place. It's not a debt to anyone. It's impossible to counterfeit, but it can be lost if you lose your keys. There's a public key and a private key, or a seed phrase. My contact information, my blog is sovereigntyinternational.wordpress.com. My website is sovereigntyinternational.fyi. My email address is engineerwin@yahoo.com. My YouTube profile is Sovereign Living. My Facebook community page was deleted due to censorship on the part of Facebook. I deleted it. My private group called Sovereignty International on Facebook, a friend has offered to, it's got 17,000 people on there, and I don't want to delete it until I ban everybody off the group so Facebook can't use it. And a friend has offered to set up a bot to delete everybody off of there, so I think I'll probably take him up on that. My freelist.org private group is called Administering Your Public Service. My Google private group is called Administering Your Public Service. Follow me on Steemit at Sovereignty International. Follow me on BitChute at Sovereignty International. Follow me on HowTube at Sovereignty International. And on True Social at Engineer Win. And I deleted my X profile because they were censoring me. So cryptocurrency ATMs. Did you know there's an ATM about a block from here? Yeah, I did a search yesterday and there is. Charge a minimum of 6% up to 14%. There's a 6% fee. So in other words, $200 is a $12 fee. So it can be kind of expensive. Right now I'm getting it to the point where I don't have to buy it. I just earn it on exceedingly. So that's kind of nice. Anyways, there's a they also sell Bitcoin over the current market price. Sometimes $200 over the market price or more. That's how they build the fee into it. And so some want to take a picture of identification. I don't do that. If it wants to do that, then I find a different ATM. They're usually pretty easy to use. Most of them only sell Bitcoin, but some of them actually buy the Bitcoin too. You know, they'll give you cash and buy your Bitcoin. And so there's various, but most of them just sell it. Most of them just sell it. You feed in the $100 bills, and they'll send the Bitcoin to your wallet. Usually, what I'll do is I'll set it up on my phone and have the ATM scan the QR code on my wallet. And then I feed in $100 bills, and it'll send the Bitcoin to my wallet. And so that's a nice way to do it. But it varies as to what the ATM is going to want to do. There's YouTube videos that go through it in detail. Most of them only sell Bitcoin. Actually, the ones that I've seen lately sell Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and what's the fourth one? Usually there's four cryptocurrencies: Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and what's the other one? I can't remember. But there's usually four. Anyways, this is Ocean City, New Jersey. There's a Liberty X Bitcoin. See this? Central Avenue. And this is 11th Street, so that means this is 12th Street. That means that we're right about here, and that's on the other side over here. There's a Liberty X Bitcoin ATM. You should go over there and take a look. You want to do a field trip? We could take a walk over there. This is the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There's a bunch of Bitcoin ATMs around there. Coin Radar. There's actually our house, you know that Chevron station that's down on the corner from our house? There's two of them actually will buy Bitcoin, and there's another one that sells it and buys it. There's one of them that sells it and buys it, and there's one of them that just sells it. So there's two of them inside there. I tend to wonder how much business they get. I've gone there and done it a couple times, 2 or 3 times. And had no trouble at all. Worked fine. Coinbase now wanting identification. Some wallets provide for buying Bitcoin with a credit card. Like with the Exodus wallet, you can buy it with a credit card, but then they want to do the KYC. And so I'm not interested in doing the KYC unless I really have to. So I usually don't, how would you put it? If I have to do the KYC, then I find a different way. Many cryptocurrency exchanges have ways to buy cryptocurrencies with credit cards. So buying cryptocurrencies on bitquick.co, they charge about a 1% fee, does not require identification for the first small transactions. Eventually asks for identification, provides a bank account at a bank of your choice. You deposit the cash and email a picture of the deposit slip. Within 3 hours, the Bitcoin is in your wallet. So other similar websites. So this is that bitquick.co. See the banks here: Bank of America, Wells Fargo, U.S. Bank. It'll tell you which bank. It'll give you when you pick the bank, it'll give you the account number. And then you go down there and you make a cash deposit into that account, and they'll give you a receipt. Then you email them the receipt, and within 3 hours, the cryptos will be in your wallet. This is another one called Local Bitcoins, and same kind of idea. Check out my other videos: Bankster Thieves Playlist, Roman Cult Playlist, Bankrupt Corporate So-Called Governments, Bar Members 1 through 12, Do-It-Yourself How Not to Volunteer for the Selective Service in the Draft, Martial Laws here, Do-It-Yourself No Income Tax, Do-It-Yourself Free Mail 1 and 2, Do-It-Yourself Kangaroo Course 1 through 34, I think is the latest number, Canada Border Pigs Playlist, Bar Members and Their Satanic Connections Playlist. Congress has passed a law on and how the border pigs are asking people for their cryptocurrencies when crossing the border. At least that's what there was a rumor of that. I don't know if that ever did happen, but this is what I would tell them if I was at the border. Is I'd tell them that do not give evidence against yourself. If you're an American, then under the Article 5 and Amendment, you have the right not to give evidence against yourself, and so do you have a court order. I don't have to give you shit. If you're not an American, then under the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, Article 17, no one shall be subjected to arbitrary or unlawful interference with his privacy, family, home, correspondence, nor to unlawful attacks on his honor and reputation. So you can use the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. But I think with Trump in there, I don't think they're doing that stuff. That was only when the communists that were running it. Everyone has the right to protection of the law, such as interference or attacks. And again, I'd say, do you have a court order? If you're worried, email yourself the keys and delete all the wallets off your phone. That's another thing you can do. Okay, the private seed phrase, you just delete all the wallets off your phone and email yourself the keys. And so then when you get from point A to point B, the keys, install the app, and you'll have all your cryptos will be there.
You smuggled your Bitcoin across borders.
Not really. You just don't have it available. That's all. I wouldn't call it smuggling. I would reset the phone before I go through customs, and there'd be nothing there for them to get. If you properly backed everything up, then you should be able to restore everything after you get past the customs pigs. Congress is owned and operated by the Roman cult. Congress equals Roman cult equals bankster thieves. PIGS is an acronym, stands for persons in government who intend to perjure their oaths. You're not smuggling anything. What happens is the cryptos are kept in the blockchain. So they're not in your wallet. Order followers. Satanists, Mark Passio's YouTube channel. Mark Passio's YouTube channel is called What on Earth is Happening? And he says that they're Satanists. Order followers. Order followers are the one that keep the system of slavery in place. Mark Passio was a priest of the Philadelphia Church of Satan. And the Philadelphia Church of Satan was organized by the CIA. It's turning out the CIA is involved in a lot of stuff like that, you know. Order followers are the servants of evil. You assist an evil system most effectively by obeying its orders and decrees. An evil system never deserves such allegiance. Allegiance to it means partaking of the evil. A good person will resist an evil system with his or her whole soul. Well said. Every great injustice has been at the hands of someone just following orders. Just following orders. I was just following orders is never a valid excuse or justification for immoral criminal behavior, and this lame attempt to abdicate a valid excuse for such behavior. Oh, look at the law-abiding citizens and the brave soldiers just doing their job. Avro, Manhattan. The sensational account of the most horrifying religious massacre of the 20th century by Avro, Manhattan. Avro, Manhattan is the world's foremost authority on Roman Catholicism and politics. A resident of London during World War II, he operated a radio station called Radio Freedom, broadcasting to occupied Europe. He was the author of over 20 books, including the best-selling The Vatican and World Politics, twice Book of the Month, and going through 57 editions. He was a Great Britain who risked his life daily to expose some of the darkest secrets of the papacy. His books were number one on the Forbidden Index for the last 50 years. Editor's note, this time from this issue from 1986 and 2006, the record is now 70 years on the Forbidden Book list. This is the preface to the American edition. The Vatican's Holocaust is not a misnomer, an accusation, or even less a speculation. It is an historical fact. Radical sectarianism, nationalism, and religious dogmatism were in two main ingredients. During the existence of Croatia as an independent Catholic state, some 700,000 men, women, and children perished. Many were executed, tortured, died of starvation, buried alive, or were burned to death. Hundreds were forced to become Catholic. Catholic padres, officers in the military corps, which committed such atrocities. 700,000 in a total population of a few million, proportionally would be as if a 1/3 of the USA population had been exterminated by a Catholic militia. What has been gathered in this book will vindicate the veracity of these facts, dates, issues, and places, as well as photos are there to prove them. This is actually a friend of mine that's Catholic, told me about this, by the way. They should become known to the American public, not to foster vindictiveness, but to warn them of the danger which racialism and sectarianism, when allied with religious intolerance, can bring to any contemporary nation, whether in Europe or in the New World. This work should be assessed without prejudice and in as a lesson, but as more vital as a warning to the future of the Americans, beginning with that of the USA. Avro, Manhattan, 1986. An armed Serbia could have easily prevented this Holocaust. Thank God for the Second Amendment to the Constitution, which guarantees the right to bear arms, freedom of religion, and a armed citizenry go hand in hand as the only guarantee that this won't happen in the U.S. Editor's note, it is the Vatican's one world government that doesn't want you to have the right to own arms or to use any means to defend yourself. Oh, and look at this. Pope claims you're not Christian if you own a gun. Well, he's not Christian either. He's a Satanist. Anyways, and he's dead too now. Anyways, this is John Adams. My History of the Jesuits is not eloquently written, but it is supported by unquestionable authorities and is very horrible. In 1814 by Pope Pius VII is indeed a step towards darkness, cruelty, despotism, and death. I do not like the appearance of Jesuits, as ever there was a body of men who merited eternal damnation on earth and in hell. It is the Society of Loyola. John Adams, second President of the United States. Within 20 years, this country is going to rule the world. Kings and emperors will soon pass away, and the democracy of the United States will take their place. When the United States rules the world, the Catholic Church will rule the world. And that's Roman Catholic Archbishop James E. Quigley, Chicago Daily Tribune, May 5th, 1903. So let's see what's going on YouTube. Exodus Wallet is the only way to get real Bitcoin. BSV. I've never even heard of BSV, quite frankly. I'll have to look into it. U.S. Congress, Roman Conquest, 24th September 2015. This red text here is hard to read, so I'm going to put it here. So this red text up in this corner here is pointing at this Roman Achaia military staff right here. It says Roman Achaia military staff carried in battle by all Roman commands. Remember, Nelson, you said you want to know about the occupying force? I think that says it right there.
Right. So
planted on all conquered nations.
How would we know when that was first brought in?
Yep.
It wasn't posted before that?
No, I don't think so.
Really?
Well, that's when the government went bankrupt, right? And it got seized by the Vatican.
So they seized the government, and therefore they seized the Congress and the money supply.
Well, they seized the District of Columbia is what they seized. The 1871 corporation. Right. See what I'm saying? Because it went bankrupt. Okay. That's what happens when you go bankrupt. Okay. Shouldn't have gone bankrupt.
So what's the way out?
Well, you can always settle it. You settle a matter. This is a sovereign nation, or it's supposed to be. There's ways of settling it. You don't go bankrupt. That was Roosevelt that did that.
No, I'm referring to now. How do we reverse it?
Well, now, I'm not sure. I think that the corporation has to be dissolved. It has to be adjourned for the last time. I think that's what remote viewers saw. It's Congress adjourning for the last time. But you have to understand that that corporation could adjourn, but the republic is still here. Remember in Downs versus Bidwell, the Supreme Court said two national governments exist, one to be operated by Congress outside and independent of the Constitution.
So would all of the corporate states like Alaska and Arizona that came in, would they revert to territories of the de jure United States, the republic?
That's where it gets kind of complicated because they have set up corporations. There's no doubt about it. But if that DC corporation gets dissolved, then all of its subsidiaries get dissolved, and the de jure state would still be there. It would seem to me.
So Puerto Rico, that land would again become a territory, capital T, owned by the de jure United States, meaning the United States we created as the people.
I think that all of that was orchestrated. I mean, the Puerto Rico was acquired because of the Spanish-American. I wonder whether that wasn't orchestrated by, there's probably a false flag. I mean, they do those false flags all the time. And so, yeah, it's a territory. But it's interesting that it's an island. That puts it at sea. You see what I'm saying? I don't know. I'd have to. That'd take some research and stuff about how that would actually, because the Supreme Court in Downs versus Bidwell said that Puerto Rico wasn't within the taxing clauses of the Constitution, which is kind of interesting. Why would Puerto Rico not be in the taxing clauses? Does that mean any federal territory is not within the taxing clauses? I don't think so. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know. Have to think about that. You know what I mean?
Just raising some questions
Yeah.
because, if we're going to reverse it, then we have to figure out how we got there and how to go back. And I don't know that they can, maybe this Bitcoin aspect is a way to preserve the fake money system.
Well, yeah, I don't think we don't want to. Why would you want to preserve the fake money system?
Well, we don't want to, but I think that's their way of keeping everybody away from gold and silver. They don't want gold and silver, but I guess if Trump's going back to gold and silver, then how's that going to work with the bankrupt quote unquote corporation?
Well, and that's a good question. That's why, they got to go back to gold and silver. I think that's where they're going. That's what I'm hearing from 107.
Everything's pointing to that, and I think people need to realize that 3,500 will look like a buy for gold down the road, because London bankers have been doing for 100 years is going to explode in their faces.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that Trump is setting it up. I mean, that's why there's a war between the bond market war between the Europeans and here. You see what I'm saying?
Because they want to stay in the fake money system.
And we have to, as long as we're using the fake money, we have to compete. And so our bonds are going down, which means interest rates are going up. But it was interesting, if you read that article by Rickards, it said that it was only the long-term ones that are going down. The short-term bonds were staying stable.
Maybe because the good money realizes, the people realize that it's heading to stable money, therefore the long-term is a good bet in their mind.
Well, the long-term ones that's the sell-off. That's the crash. The long-term ones, the short-term ones, they don't think, what they're saying is that the long-term they don't think is a good bet, but the short-term is a good bet.
It's a good bet for what? For them making a profit, or for us returning to the republic?
It's for them making a profit. They don't care about the republic.
We don't want them to make a profit. That's why I'm saying that they're realizing that we don't want those.
Right.
Because these maniac sovereign people are going back to gold and silver.
Right.
So we don't want any long-term treasuries.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's all going to work out. I guess we'll see, but I've heard that they're going to come out probably next year with gold-backed bonds. And I think that it'll be a way of circumventing the bankers. And so how that works out and how that plays out, whether it's the North American Union emerges, or if it's United States, because Jason F. Orr said that he saw in a dream a bill, a new money, and he said that he was sitting there looking for United States on it, and he couldn't see it. So, that's what they do periodically, just like the United Kingdom is England, Ireland, and Scotland, right? Which is provinces. Several provinces constitute the Isle of Wight, Jersey Isles, England, Ireland, Scotland, and it's actually Northern Ireland. But so they bankrupt, the corporation, and then they start a new one that's over top of all of that. You see what I'm saying? The Brits have done that That's why it's called United Kingdom now.
The United Kingdom, is that not the government?
Right, it is.
It's the government. Like our United States.
Right.
They match everything up so that they can see eye to eye with the fake money. One fake eye seeing the other fake eye.
Yeah, right.
So how would we find out down the road when the Roman Achaea was installed? Pictures, or would it be
I don't know.
would it be in the congressional record?
It might be in the congressional record, or it might be in the. I suppose it would be in the congressional record, but
So if anybody out there is listening,
what you'd want to do is you want to look up, around 1933. Actually, March 3rd, March 5th, 1933 is when the government went bankrupt. So around then, that's what I would look for.
Right.
So, anyways, that top text right here is talking about this Roman Achaea military staff. And then this one here is pointing at Biden. That's who that is. Devout Roman Catholic, honorary degree from Jesuit Scranton University. And then the next one is this one right here at the very bottom, pointing at Roman bundle of rods bound to a weapon, symbolizing subservient under the rule of a single man. And then this text right here is pointing at Boner or whatever his name is there, that was the speaker at the time. Devout Roman Catholic, trained by Jesuits, installed the first Jesuit chaplain to the house. And then here is a picture without everybody there. And so you can see the fascists and the Roman Achaea military staff right here.
It'd be fun to go down there and go into the chamber and look at all that up front.
Yeah, and the curious thing I have right now is that, after the 2020 election got stolen, we went and seized, or are supposed to have alleged to have seized, anywhere between 250 and 650 airplane loads of gold from the Vatican, and the National Guard troops were in D.C. So did we seize D.C. back from the Vatican is the question I have, and I'd want to see if those are still there. You know what I mean?
Yes. You mean in the chamber?
Yeah.
Well, we can look on C-SPAN, maybe.
Yeah.
Be interesting. That'd be fun if that would be a signal.
Well, it would for sure. Yeah. So this is a QR code. All Bitcoin wallets produce a QR code. You see QR codes at Walmart at the checkout stand. All crypto wallets generate a QR code. You can send money using the crypto address for the wallet or the QR code. Camera on your phone can scan the QR code, and you can send cryptocurrency from one phone to another phone. You see there's a QR code when you check out at Walmart. Let's see what they're saying here. This guy, a hammer, is basically mostly doing the talking. I'll be back in a minute. Yeah, they're not using it yet. They're saying Walmart don't actually use Bitcoin. Yeah, you're right. But I think that they're setting it up so they can in the future. Just for decoration.
Maybe the QR code could attach to your Walmart account, or like maybe we should ask them just to be up to date on what's going on.
Might be worth asking the question, although the clerks probably don't know either.
The manager would.
Yeah, well, then you got to chase them down.
They have summoned them and they come right over.
Advantages of cryptocurrency. You can transfer cryptocurrency between two people with no internet using a cell phone. The two people can be literally anywhere, a foot apart, or on opposite sides of the planet. You can use the QR code a foot apart. It's not a debt to anybody. It's impossible to counterfeit. It's infinitely divisible and circumvents the bankers. And I think there's a whole bunch of reasons why I like it. And I think that with this exceedingly that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, then that just opens up all sorts of possibilities.
We're getting to exceedingly today.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it. Yeah.
Wow, that's my favorite subject other than God.
There you go, eh?
I have 8 days left.
Do you?
Yes. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Wanda. Thank you, Jesus.
You can now get Visa and MasterCard debit cards that can be loaded with cryptocurrency. There's new cryptocurrency products being introduced every day. Every day, more merchants accept cryptocurrency. Cliff High says that something will cause a bond market crash. It might cause a bank holiday. When the banks close for a period of time, people can still use cryptocurrencies. The price of cryptocurrencies doesn't matter because they're infinitely divisible. Cryptocurrencies are about to go up a lot, in my opinion. Lindsay Williams said it would start in Europe, and about 2 weeks later, it would be here. So watch Europe. Something's going to happen in Europe. Bitcoin and any cryptocurrency is not a forced loan. Bitcoin and any other cryptocurrency is not legal tender. You do not need it to be legal tender. What you use is up to you as long as the other guy agrees to it. That's all that matters. It's called barter. You should still have lawful money, gold or silver coin. Gold markets, silver markets, and all other markets are rigged by the banksters and the Exchange Stabilization Fund. Let's see what this guy's saying on this YouTube channel. Cliff High is co-intel like Alex Jones. Well, that's an opinion. CEO of Tether, he's a Roman, is he? That's interesting. I wasn't aware of that. Matter of fact, I thought it was a pedophile. I heard he was a pedophile. Anyways, so the Bitcoin halving in 2016. This is the Bitcoin halving in 2016. What happened is the Bitcoin halving happened last May. So within 18 months of the Bitcoin halving, it's going to do this kind of stuff. So you can figure it's going to do the same thing. A recent crash was caused by Elon Musk said he would not accept cryptos for his Tesla cars. The 2017 Bitcoin crash was caused by a Mt. Gox trustee when they sold millions of dollars in Bitcoin several times in preparation to settle a bankruptcy. Bixweir has videos about it and shows the days that it happened and the move in the markets and the press releases showing that the Mt. Gox trustee was doing. Bix explains that normally that would have been done privately to prevent manipulation. So they wanted to manipulate the cryptocurrencies. That's what they did when they sold those Mt. Gox. The mark of the beast. This is Revelations 13, 16 to 18. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell, save he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him have understanding. Count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So that's 666. Now, quite frankly, I've always felt that the stuff that we're definitely living in Book of Revelations time period, first of all, and but having said that, I've always felt that that stuff that's going on with the mark of the beast and all that stuff is going to be going on in Europe, and I don't think America is going to be involved in that stuff. And the more I see what's going on with Donald Trump and all that stuff, the more I think that that's going to be the case, that we're not going to participate in that stuff. Now we're going to have our own problems here, but we're not going to be participating in that stuff. And so I guess we'll see how it all plays out. But I just don't think that we'll be mixed up in that stuff. I think all of that stuff is going to be in Europe. I believe we're living in Book of Revelations time period. Some people say that Bitcoin's the mark of the beast or will become the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast could be related to a cryptocurrency like a central bank's digital currency or Ripple or ADA, Cardano, which are bankstyle cryptocurrencies. They're not mine. I think the mark of the beast has more to do with the social security number or vaccination record that Bill Gates talked about. In 2021, they're talking about forced vaccinations, and if you don't have proofs of vaccination, then you may not enter into any government buildings. It's not a big leap from government buildings to commercial buildings like stores and malls. Trump has said he wants to make America the world center for cryptocurrencies. In November, X, formerly Twitter, had a meme that the Trump family was coming out with a new cryptocurrency, and that's true. They did. New cryptocurrency. The day of the inauguration, cryptocurrency was issued in Trump's name. Matter of fact, there's even a headline on CNBC right now. Let me find it.
It's about 15.50, I think.
Sorry?
Value on it. The Trump crypto is about $15, I think.
Well, Trump actually offered like dinner in the White House for big players in his cryptocurrency. Dinner in the White House and a White House tour. And it's turning out to be a bit of a scandal in the Senate.
Could you ask a hammer, or maybe you know, Bitcoin SV? What is that relative to Bitcoin? A hammer is in the.
I know, I saw that.
So what is Bitcoin SV that he's referring to?
Okay, well, let's ask Google. Well, here it is on Coin Market Cap. I've never heard of Bitcoin SV.
This guy is claiming
It's just a cryptocurrency. It's right now it's $40.
Took a dive by the looks of it from its.
Sorry?
Took a dive from its inception by the looks of it.
Well, this is actually, so it looks like it came out in 2019.
I think what the man's basically representing is the well, I could be wrong. Maybe we ask him if he's listening. But I think he's pointing out that the whole Bitcoin that's 93,000, 85,000, up to 105,000, that is a manipulative coin, as opposed to. Okay, I'll let you read that.
Bitcoin SV emerged from a hard fork of the Bitcoin Cash blockchain in 2018. You know what a hard fork is? which had in turn forked from the Bitcoin blockchain a year earlier following the block size wars. Bitcoin SV claims to fulfill the original vision of the Bitcoin protocol and design as described in Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper, early Bitcoin client software, and known Satoshi writings. BSV aims to offer scalability and stability in line with the original description of Bitcoin as a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, as well as deliver a distributed data network that can support enterprise-level advanced blockchain applications. To this end, it has removed artificial block size limits and are re-enabled script commands and other technical capabilities which had been historically disabled or restricted by the protocol developers of the Bitcoin blockchain. This purportedly allows the network to process tens of thousands of transactions per second while remaining extremely low transaction fees for micropayments, in addition to offering advanced capabilities such as tokens, smart contracts, computation, and other data use cases. The BSV network claims to be unique in its capability for unfounded on-chain scaling, which also being more aligned with the original design of Bitcoin than any other blockchain. Okay, well, there you go. So it was a hard fork. So any fork so what happened is a hard fork is when it splits. So what happens is that
It's a new group of programmers basically decided
Right.
to reprogram with the features that the original Bitcoin white paper suggested should be available.
yeah, but more than that, it's also what it does is when the fork happens, it has all of the and so then it just continues on its way separately, whereas Bitcoin was different. So they keep their blockchains are identical up to the time of the fork. Once the fork happens, then the blockchain is different after that point. You see what I'm saying? Now there was something about Bitcoin. It was in 2008, emerged following a hard fork of the Bitcoin Cash blockchain in 2018, which in turn forked from Bitcoin blockchain a year earlier. So 2017 is when Bitcoin Cash split off from Bitcoin. So the way it works is that if you had Bitcoin at the time, like the Bitcoin Cash, then you automatically got however many Bitcoin you had, you also got Bitcoin Cash, same amount at the time of the hard fork. And the same thing with BSV is that it is a hard fork from the Bitcoin Cash blockchain. So if you had Bitcoin Cash at the time, then you automatically got an equal amount of the Bitcoin SV at the same time when the hard fork happened. You know, but that's been a couple days now. So, you know, I don't remember if I had any Bitcoin Cash at the time. I probably didn't. You know what I mean?
It's interesting that the volume is almost 40% of the total market cap in a day. So who knows what that is? What's the purpose of Bitcoin SV, and why is the guy Hammer here claiming it is what he's claiming?
Well, you know, I don't know. There's a website here. So they always have a reason want to hard fork from Bitcoin. There's been several hard forks from Bitcoin. There's also been hard forks from Litecoin. I've got about 500 Litecoin cash coins because I had 500 Litecoins when they had a hard fork from Litecoin Cash. And the reason they did that Litecoin Cash hard fork is because they wanted to use the SHA-256 algorithm, and so that was the reason. And so I had a bunch of Litecoin at the time, so I automatically got the Litecoin Cash, and it started out at $5, and it was worth quite a bit of money, and then went down to where it's worth next to nothing right now. Anyways, what I would do is read through their website and see what exactly they're talking about. And they're talking about their 5,000 transactions per second. Fee per transaction is pretty small fees. That's interesting. Because I can tell you that the big problem with Bitcoin is the number of transactions that are happening, and it's slowing down the blockchain. I can tell you that that's happening for sure. They're trying to figure out ways to speed it up.
The camera went off.
Okay.
There'll be a 5-minute break while we put the new battery in the camera.
There you go. Man, this one's still charging. Don't tell me this. Why is it not charging in this camera?
Is there a setting in
I don't know.
the
Maybe
power settings?
I don't think so. I went through the settings, and I don't think there was anything about that. I'll have to check, I guess, again. See why. Well, hopefully, you would think that power cable would be enough to
Keep up with it?
Yeah,
It's weird.
I know.
Who's the camera made by? A regular firm, or is it a knockoff?
I don't know.
Sounds like it's Does everything else go with it as far as transferring and the quality of the film?
So
when you
I haven't really messed with the recordings at all yet. I haven't started downloading them. I need to, but Okay, recording. So anyways, so some rumors. Cliff High said that his data set showed that Bitcoin would eventually be worth millions and used mostly by governments to settle debts. Usually the alternative cryptos move 10 times to 100 times what the Bitcoin moves are. My opinion is to have a target and buy low and sell high and do swing trading. Cliff High said that Veritasium would be worth more than Bitcoin. I've got some Veritasium. I've got about 250 Veritasium. Some people are saying that Bitcoin will peak between 250,000 and 300,000 at this halving, and then will go down until the next halving. Cliff High said that he saw in his data sets that after there's a total crash of the markets, the U.S. government going hand in hand, asking Reggie Middleton to fix the markets. Reggie Middleton is the guy that owns the patent for Veritasium. It has to be Reggie Middleton because he has multiple cryptocurrency patents, including Veritasium. And so they have to, because he's got the patent. You know, if they didn't go to him, they would be circumventing their own patents. They have to go to him. Veritasium is a token on the Ethereum blockchain. There are already articles on CNBC talking about how they need to tokenize Wall Street to get rid of the fraud, and that's what Reggie Middleton's talking about doing. They routinely do naked short selling on Wall Street. With Veritasium, everything would get tokenized with smart contracts would be used, facilitated with the Veritasium token, and it would be a trustless system. So, and I'm not exactly sure about how the whole mechanics, how much of a Veritasium would be needed, because I don't know how many Veritasium tokens there are. I know I've got 250, and I know Darren has about 250 too. And so I bought a bunch when they were a bit. Anyways. So Smart Lab. Subscription. So these are opportunities, cryptocurrency opportunities. Okay. Subscription to a sports betting bot. Use US dollar tether cryptocurrency only. And what they do is they have you're buying a subscription to a bot that bets both sides of a game. So you're not doing the betting. The bot does the betting, but you're just buying a subscription to it, and it's in U.S. dollar tether only. And what they do is they bet on soccer games right now, although they're thinking about expanding it to other games. But they bet, like, it's a huge business, is the sports betting, and so what they do is they bet on a game in such a way that there's with different bookies, so that you bet to win on one side and to lose on the other in such a way that no matter what happens, they win. They make money on it. It's quite the interesting thing. Let me see if I can pull it up here.
And I can testify that they paid as agreed. I've been in it 6-8 months on that one.
Yeah, they've done it. They've done it paid as agreed too, as far as I was
So
concerned.
this is different than, say, speculating on a coin going up and down.
Yeah, that
So
is.
why do you call it a cryptocurrency opportunity, Smart Lab?
Because you can only invest using a crypto. It's U.S. dollar tether only.
And the first time I sat and listened to Doc do his presentation, he didn't even get done the presentation, and I sensed I was no reason not to do it, because it was safe in the company and taking all the money. But as far as the system of generating profits that they're claiming they're going to use my capital to and employ it, it made sense to me immediately. betting both sides of the games, finding different sports books that have differing odds because they're all trying to attract bets.
So this is my profile on SmartLab, and it's in US dollar tether. It's the only way you can get it. You have to pay for a subscription. I bought a subscription last May for $6,200, and I've made back more than double what I've about double what I invested into it, and the
So it's not really, in my mind, it wasn't speculated.
not really.
Speculative.
No, it's not, because they haven't they what they do is you're buying a subscription to a bot, and so they just automatically pay. It's so I right now I've still got $10,000 worth of earnings left
Before the subscription expired.
before it runs out. That's right. And so then what I'll have to do is buy another subscription. Actually, what I'm planning on doing is I'd like to buy a they have different subscriptions. See, here's the different subscriptions that are available. It's now the 6210 that I bought before is now a 72. But there's also a $21,000 subscription, a $61,000, $196,000, $418,000, and so the maximum on the 7,000, you make about triple your money, and it usually happens over about 18 months. Is because my wallet history. This is my payments that I've been getting. Oh, that's why I got so much in my wallet, because there was a quarterly a bonus. I got $495 in quarterly bonus.
Do they not have smaller investments now? Is it 7?
No, it doesn't look like it.
They said if you're not into it, goodbye.
Yeah.
No more low investments. I got in for 1,000.
Right.
Interesting.
So usually I get about $120 a week from that 6,200. I also got this $495 bonus, quarterly bonus here. That's why I had the 1,700. I was wondering how come I had 1,700 in there, and I'm just going to let it build until I have enough. I'm figuring next July I want to buy a $50,000 one, and that'll give me about $1,000 a week, I think. And then there'll be the quarterly bonuses and all that. And
so what's the benefit to investing more as opposed to less? 7,000 versus 21,000.
Well, the 21,000. Well, the 7,000 gives you 2 levels down. Okay, if people sign up under you, then you get a kickback on whatever they invest or not invest, or the subscriptions they buy, 2 levels down. So, for example, when I bought my 6210, there was a friend of mine that bought a $20,000 subscription under me, and so I got $2,000. It was $1,900 is what I got from that. So that's why I say I've made double what my subscription was already back. Anyways, when you buy a $20,000 subscription or anything more, you get 10 levels down. And so now you can people buying subscription underneath you, you can get major kickbacks from people buying subscriptions below you.
What'll be interesting, it'll allow you to reinvest, or you reinvest. The people who were in it before you are going to get a guaranteed income.
Well, and more than that, what happens is that when you buy a $20,000 subscription or more, they give you free airline tickets and a free hotel at one of their events worldwide. They hold them all over the place, and they hold them at a game, and you're sitting there, you're watching the soccer game. Their bot is betting on the soccer game, and you watch the bot in action making money on this soccer game, and you watch it all happening live, and you just invest 20,000 or more, and it's all paid for. And so they have, all sorts of freebies and stuff like that. And so yeah, it's actually, I'm looking forward to that $50,000. But that's a lot of money. That's why I'm doing the exceedingly. And we'll have to talk about that separately. But so anyways, so right now I've got 1,700 in there, and I want to buy a $50,000 one, which I expect that I'll be able to do that. Well, I'm sure I can do it here next July probably.
Was it my impression that when one purchased a subscription at a higher level, they threw in some free subscriptions that you could go out and sell and get 100% of the money back? Is that what from the subscription?
They offered those as deals in the past. They're not offering those right now. I don't know what the latest deal is. I haven't. That's all. When Doc does those Zoom conference calls, he talks about all those. They're always offering some deal or something like that to
entice you, which it gets more capital in their hands, which allows them to deploy it and make bigger waves, bigger profits.
Well, they're making money on it, which I'm glad they are. I don't expect them to lose money on it. So actually, this is the games. They've got some scheduled right here that this bot. This is my bot. And so it's betting on these games, and this is what the percentage it plans on making. It's talking about the odds, and there's also Smart Bot, which is, just does it all automatically. I don't do it. I don't have to mess with it. I mean, I don't want to deal with that stuff. I don't gamble, quite frankly, but I don't mind buying a subscription to a bot that does. Nice and clean.
I agree.
And I don't have to get caught up and I don't have to do all the studying and all that stuff. And this bot just searches the internet for the bookies, and there's hundreds of bookies, and looks for the different odds that the bookies are offering, and takes advantage of the differences, and so that either way you look at it, it's going to make some money. So it's pretty interesting. But you can only the subscriptions are only sold in Tether, U.S. dollar Tether. You can use Ethereum based Tether, or there's also Tron based Tether, and there's another one. So there's 3 different kinds of Tether that you can use. And then when you withdraw the money, like if I withdrew the money, they charge, like I could withdraw this. You have to, they only do it on Thursdays. So you have to set it up so that you order it on before Sunday night, I think. Anyways, so you order the withdrawal. They charge you 5% to do the withdrawal, and so like if $1,700 or $1,000 would be what, $50 is what they charge me to withdraw it, and so 1,700, but it's 5%. They charge you 5% to withdraw, and so that, I guess that pays someone for their time to sit down and do all that stuff. Anyways, but right now I'm actually interested in getting I want to get a $50,000 subscription, so that'll be like $1,000 a week. That's you could live on that, no problem. And have exceedingly is what I'm doing, and that one actually. Let me see here.
And if anyone listening is interested, what one can do is email Glenn, and he'll get the credit for introducing you, or someone he gives your referral to, and we help build each other's income that way. And so, because if you just go online direct, then
There we go.
you don't get any benefit.
This is exceedingly, yeah. What I'll have to do is refer you. So you have to send me an email and I'll send you a referral. Exceedingly is, they have several plans. There's a monthly plan, 70% every month. It used to be 81%, anywhere between $250 and $10 million. But you get 70% every month. And it used to be 81%. So when I first did this, I did it in January, and I can show you. Why don't we do that? This is my investments right now. I'm doing the 90-day plan. So I got 15,000 in there, and in 90 days, which is July, it'll be $126,240 plus the 15,000, so about 140,000. So you all, these are all of my investments. Yeah, I started out in January, and I sent 3 investments in. I sent one for 2,000, 5,000, and 6,000, so that was $13,000. And then in February, it became 23,000. 17 and 14. Oh no, yeah, no, it was 23,000. And what happened is I went and took 6,000. I withdrew 6,000, and then I rolled it over. It was 17,000 left after I withdrew the 6,000, and and that's in February. I rolled over the 17,000, and I invested. I did it for another month at 81%. So then what happened is in February, I wound up with 31,000, and I took out. In February, I took out 20,000, and that left 11,000. See, here's the 11,000 that I did again, and I invested it for another month. That was, and so then that was earlier this month, like about a week or so ago. I had 21,000, and I took out. So far I've taken out, and then I took out 6,000. So far I've taken out 6,000. And 20,000 is 26,000, or another 5,000. So then that's 31,000. I've taken out 31,000, and I have 15,000 left in there, and I'm doing the quarterly program, which means I'll have 126,000. So then out of that, I'm planning next July is I'll take out 50. Is actually I think it was 71,000. That I'll take out for that 71,000. It's right now 71,000. We'll see what it is in July, and I'll buy the subscription in SmartLab, and then I'll roll over what's left. So that means 70,000 out of 126,000. So that means it'll be about 50,000 left over.
Why does exceedingly not have a problem using the term investment related to regulations?
And that's a good question. I wouldn't use it.
Exactly.
But I guess, as long as they pay, then nobody's going to complain.
Well, the man said on the founder said on the 2-hour town hall that the investment is I forget actually now what he said about that.
Yeah, so he doesn't have a problem. He can take um, so if you want to deposit money, you can deposit, like you can do an ACH, you can do a wire, you can do a credit card. Usually, what I do is ERC20 Tether, which is what I do, but you can also deposit Ethereum. You can also deposit Bitcoin, Solana, Revolut, or Tron, US dollar Tether, or Ripple. And he actually, if you contact him, he'll take other cryptos too. He That's one of the things he does is he plays the crypto markets, and he helps. There's some areas in the world that cryptos are hard to get, and so he's got contacts in Africa, and so he helps them get cryptos, and he gets a piece of the action by doing that. That's one of the things that he does. He does a bunch of different things, but he's able to pay pretty good. Um, uh, So my deposit history, here's my deposit history. See, here's it, is right here. Here's the 3 deposits I did. 2,000, 5,000, 6,000, and I sent 1,000 here recently for a friend of mine that wanted me to do it for him. And then, whoops, right here. So you withdraw it the same way. See here, I withdrew 6,000, and then I drew 20,000, and then 5,000. So those are the withdrawals I did. So I'm working on house money at this point.
I'm impressed, Glenn.
And
you were patient and you were careful, and now the big payoff if the world doesn't destruct.
I'm working on house money. If this thing pays off in July, I'll be happy. If it doesn't, I'm not. I got my money out of it. I got double my money, more than double my money. So what I would suggest is don't ever put anything in there that you can't afford to lose. The lady that introduced me to this goes to those Smart Lab events, and she met the guy that does this at a Smart Lab event in Cancun. I think it was Cancun.
The guy that does it?
Yeah.
No,
She met him.
Joseph?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. She's got his home phone number.
Yeah. He really sounded like a legitimate guy.
She's got his home phone number. So what happened is they hadn't paid out, but it turned out that it wasn't going to pay out for another day. I didn't know exactly how that was all working, and so, but she was going to set up a call with him, and
I think the reason they don't pay out at certain times is that the whole banking system in the world is doing like a update, so nothing's happening for a day or two. Because one of mine,
actually, no. My problem is that, see right here, I didn't know. I was expecting to pay out sooner. I didn't know when it was. I didn't know about the screen right here. You see what I'm saying? Because then I would have seen that it hadn't paid out yet, and I would have seen when it's gonna. Like, for example, this one form, it's going to pay out in 1 day and 14 hours and 32 minutes and 5 seconds. And so that's, what today's Saturday. So then Sunday and then Monday. It'll be Monday evening that it'll pay out. Monday afternoon or Monday evening, it'll pay out, and then I'll be able to roll it over at that point. And I can't do anything until that happens. Just like this quarterly one that I did here is not going to pay out for 86 days. Once it's in there, it's in there. I can't stop it. It's stuck. You see what I'm saying?
There's no option.
No, there's no. I can't.
And what's his purpose? What do you think the reason why he asks us to invest for a certain amount of time? Because then he knows that he has that capital to use, and he can make other commitments, which is how he now is able to promise the returns.
Yeah, exactly. Some of his returns, like if you invest $1 million or more, you get 400% a month. I mean, that's a pretty good rate of return. I would expect that he's probably making that kind of money on all the investments, but um, you know, he's only given that to the people that invest a mil. If you invest like I did it quarterly, I have to invest a minimum of 10,000. I put 15 and change, and I'm going to get 800% in 3 months. And so then I'll roll it over and I'll get another 800% in 3 months. And once it gets up to be $1 million, then I'll do it on the monthly program.
And I think that was the impression I got. The man is basically giving us, the poor, which I am, a ladder,
right,
to get in on the rich people's game.
This is, according to what I'm hearing, is these are the kinds of investments that are available to hedge funds, to billionaires, and with the hedge funds, and they get these kinds of investments all the time. And the little people don't get those kinds of investments. And so this is an opportunity for the little people to get these kinds of investments. So I guess we'll see. I'm certainly everybody's been getting paid out so far, and he's doing the investments. It's all coming through. So I'm okay with it. That's all I can say.
I had some friends and family that were here when Glenn's last investment, I forget how much it was for, matured. So we had an exceedingly party.
Yeah, we did. That was my member. That was
last week.
Yeah, that was.
And allowed me to demonstrate the maturing of the investment, then the removal of some of your withdrawal of some of it.
Right. That's when I took out 5,000.
Then your reinvestment.
Right.
Show the screen that has your initial invest. It would be there. Yeah, the one where it shows. No, there it is. Right, that right there. That whole. Well, see, mine is different because go up a little bit.
Right.
No, I want you to go up to where all of the keep going. Total investment, total profit. Now, why do I have a different screen that shows deposit interest or total interest? Let me show you on my cell phone, then you can see where we're.
Probably because you haven't had a payout yet.
I have not.
I'm guessing. I don't know.
Let's show maybe pull mine up and then go to this same screen.
I don't. You're gonna have to give me your password and all that.
Well, I'll do it. I don't care. I'll type it in myself if you want, but it'll show somebody who's never gotten a payout yet because I'm only in this 20-some days.
What I would suggest is you do it in a different profile because I don't want to overwrite my stuff that's in this one.
Okay. How do you
like here?
And you can start with 250. I have a gentleman who's from Mexico, and he works hard. And I suggested that when he goes back to Mexico, and all he does is log on there.
There you go.
Okay. Midas Touch.
Midas Touch.
Yeah. MIDAS. And then I'll type in my password.
Hold it. Let's do it on a different one. I don't really want to remember this or have it even.
Right. Maybe close that out.
See, that alone was remembering some profiles. There we go. Okay. I'll let you do your thing there.
277-265.
Right.
Let's see if we get in. Okay. So
So you go my investments. There you go. So total invested. So this is yours.
maybe I was looking for, where did I see there was a transactions?
Got me.
Finance. It had my, oh, you know what? It might have been under account. No? Dashboard. Oh, this one. The dashboard was what I wanted. This right here, where it shows my deposit wallet balance, which is 0. Interest, what? Like if I were to deposit money or something, Tether, whatever, it would then show up here.
I'll bet.
And then you go to the screen where you pick your plan.
Right.
And then here I have got no interest yet.
Right.
So when it pays off in 8 days or so, 9 days, it'll have an amount there.
You'll have interest there, yeah.
Now, from your experience, where does your initial capital show up on this screen? Your initial capital.
Well, the deposit wallets.
No, on
the
this,
deposits.
Like, where would that? If the initial investment was $1,000 and
that's
interest,
in that other screen. It doesn't show up on that screen.
Once it matures, your $1,000, the initial.
If you go to here and you go to plan, that's where I go. This is where I get it. My investments.
Okay, you can close that.
So then this is all.
Right there.
These are all your investments, right?
Right. See, I started with. Well, no, go up and hit view all because I had to chisel away and get a.
Yeah, you're doing little ones.
So now that shows up my beginning one all the way at the bottom.
Yeah, right.
Was 5,000.
Right.
And then it's paying off 4,000 plus on top of the 5, 8 days, 20 hours.
Right.
And then the more I thought about it, I liked it, so I went and got some more money or credit. I'm actually using my credit.
Yeah, well, I mean, once you get paid out, you can easily pay off all those credit cards and still have a lot in here. I'll be back in a minute.
So the way I calculate it, like $1,000 is 700, which is on $1,000, that's like $20 a day per 1,000. That's impressive. Did you ever?
The issue is how to
Fund it?
Yeah, fund it.
Did you send them an email?
No. I watched the town hall.
Oh, what did you think? You never told me what you thought.
Well, we only watched it yesterday, actually. So, yeah, it was interesting. There was a couple of, more than a couple of questions answered, I guess.
Yep.
As to how he's doing it and so on. And because at one point he actually went on camera too, you get a little more personal view of who's responsible, and you can kind of gauge, I think, whether
hiding behind the black screen with the name is questionable. I was surprised he came online, but that helped me a lot too.
Yeah, I think it does.
From a confidence standpoint. But the question is it a confidence game? And the other question is are the feds going to come in and catch him even if he's not doing anything? They accuse him of doing something.
Yeah.
And that's why he said he's moving to somewhere outside of the jurisdiction to run this, because he's probably sensing, his whole.
Yeah, was moving it. Well, I won't say it.
Right.
Yeah, I know where he's moving it to. So it is outside US. jurisdiction.
Right, which makes sense.
Because that's the issue. If you're within their jurisdiction, then they can do whatever they want.
Yes, as we so sadly know.
Mm-hmm.
We have to.
Yeah, it
So-
would be interesting. But,
So I wanted to finish. So the gentleman, he, I mean, basically, where is a guy who is basically sending money back to Mexico through Western Union or whatever they use? How's he going to find an opportunity where worldwide he could invest in at this time be getting 70%? So he's actually going to come over here likely tomorrow, and Glenn will use some of Glenn's tether to fund this gentleman's account.
Mhm.
And then Glenn will take the cash, and it won't cost the man anything, which is nice, because I had to pay a bunch of fees.
Yeah.
And I bought I bought one 60-day just kind of for fun, just to see, to live it.
Live the experience. Let's see where
So that would be a grade of return.
it was great. It was 250%. See this 2 month right here?
Mm-hmm.
250%.
So what I did was I took the calculator and said, all right, at 70% times 1.7 times 1.7, what is that? And then 250 is actually a little less than what 1.7 compounded is.
Yeah.
And then if you do the quarter special, what's 1.7 times 1.7 times 1.7 compounded? The answer is about 390%. So 800% is twice as good,
Yeah.
but then you don't have the access every 30 days to do something else. Okay, Glenn, you can close that. Thanks.
Yeah, so I'm using this exceedingly. I mean, I'm doing the smart lab and the exceedingly, and so we'll see.
Yeah, I have to figure a way of, I was just saying to Nelson, I have to figure a way of funding, because I have the UK account, which does have it's like a debit card, but it's a Visa attached to it. So
Right.
whenever you use it, it comes right out of your account.
Right.
It's not used as a credit card. It is debit only. It's Maestro. If you spend it here, it's on Maestro. But there's only certain places that will take it.
Really.
If you go into, I go into Lowe's to buy something, and I try and use it in Lowe's.
Really.
They won't take it.
Wow.
It's crazy. So, and the only other way, I can go to an ATM and get money, but as I was mentioning to you last week, they've restricted the amount you can withdraw now from, I'm assuming from foreign account.
Could be.
Because
Could
they used
be.
to allow you to up to whatever the maximum of the ATM was, like on your account, whatever your maximum was. So I could get nearly $700 a day if I wanted to.
Right.
But now it's down to 400.
Wow.
They won't let you take out any more than that.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I'm not a very trusting sort, so I don't keep any more money in the bank. Matter of fact, I got about $1,100 in Bank of America right now, and I'm thinking about going down there and taking it
Before
out.
sundown.
I don't like to keep any more in there than like under $100 is, and I'll keep the cash. And if I need to have it available, I'll go and make a deposit, and then I'll have it available. You know what I mean? If I want to pay a bill or something like that,
Yeah. Well, I used to try and do the same, but I can't do it quite so much now because
Well, it's hard when you have your account overseas,
Yeah.
because then you can't just put money in there anytime you feel like it.
That's right.
With because I have a Bank of America account, so there's Bank of America ATMs all over the place, and so that's easy. But so right now I'm just waiting for this, and so we'll see. Um, it'll be nice to do a $75,000 Smart Lab subscription, May, June, July. So it'd be about the middle of July, is when I'd be able to do the Smart Lab subscription. And
What's the returns on that, though? I mean, you know what you're getting here in percentage depending on your investment. What's the smart labs, or is that just based on?
that's well, they tell you how much they're going to pay. Um, I think, but it varies too. It varies, but it's been steady. It's been steady, and plus the quarterly bonus is always all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But the more you invest, the bigger the bonus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like mine right now is it was a 6210, so it's like the bottom of the totem pole because they don't have anything lower than that.
Yeah.
But if I had a in Smart Lab, if I had a $50,000 one, or the amount of the matter of fact, if you go here, let's go here.
Carl, what I think they do is they say, okay, buy this subscription. Here's the total maximum payout. What they don't know is how many months you'll be in it till your subscription is fulfilled. Like for example, see the maximum earnings.
Right, it's
So
20,000.
it expires whenever that subscription pays off 20.
So I've already made 10,000.
So they're not saying it's going to be in a year and a half. They're saying when you get to 20,000. So they're just basically paying based on what they produce because they don't know what the bets are going to be.
Yeah. And that's what I figured. It would be up and down because it would be based on the bot.
And you can look at your
Weekly.
weekly history of how much they pay.
See, here's the history right here.
Earning wallet, they call it.
And so I get, so there's a unilevel on STP. So there's 69 and 60. So that's about $120, $130 a week I get normally. And then transaction type. Oops. Yeah. So that's every quarter you get a bonus, and then you get this weekly payout, 60 69. So that's $130 every week, roughly. But if you go back, let's go back to here. See, it was less, a little bit less. And you go back to here. See, the unilevel was $2. STP, the unilevel was $2.50. This is, I think, the money that I got when that guy bought that $20,000 subscription. No, right here. Right here. That's what I got when that guy bought that $20,000 subscription. That was kind of nice right off the bat. STP, see, they vary.
Yeah, it looks like it's been much the same rate over the period, whereas the unilevel is.
Yeah, the unilevel is paying 17 and 16. The 66 is pretty well standard, but this unilevel has been going up 16, 17. So then what happens when you invest bigger amounts? Then you start getting like manager and stuff like that positions. You see what I'm saying? Which is more bonuses.
Mhm.
Yeah, the unilevel right now is $60 every week, whereas before it was like, under 20.
So your subscription plan is over a period of time. You have to put in a certain amount and leave it in there.
Yeah, you can't take it out. You're buying a subscription, so once you paid for it, it's gone.
Yeah.
But this, and then I could withdraw $1,700 if I wanted to, which is what I have in there, $1,790. But I want to do that, $50,000 subscription, so I'll probably leave it there. But I could take it out if I want it.
Yeah,
The
so
more
those earnings you can take out at any time.
Right, and what I'll probably do is all of that is on Wire, okay, which is a secure messaging system, and let me show you. It's on here. Actually, I've got it on here.
Yeah, Joseph mentioned they've got some trouble with that. Apparently, they're blocking people's access to it or access to the money.
So what I would do is when I'm ready to do it, see, people that have money in there. There's people that have money in here, right? And it costs you 5% to send it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I can send a message on Wire and tell them that I want to put, 50 grand into Smart Lab. Does anybody have any earnings they want that they can send me, and I'll send them Tether, and that way it'll circumvent their their 5% fee.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so they can, because I can tell you right here, like if you look right here, somebody sent me $400. That was actually you, I think. Remember? You sent me $400.
Right, and you were kind enough to give me
And I
cash.
give you cash.
You're doing it as a favor.
It was a favor.
It was.
But if you want to give me the 5% or part of the 5%, I won't turn it down. Anyways, but so the point is yeah, it's a way of circumventing that 5%. So I can guarantee you that there's going to be people that are going to want to do that. They'll send me some either to whichever wallet. It doesn't matter. They can send it to this USDT wallet or the earning wallet. Doesn't matter. And so then I can use it to buy the $71,000 subscription.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just send them Tether. I'll send it directly from Exceedingly. Anyways,
So we can do that. We can go right from Exceedingly. Don't you have to go to a wallet first?
no.
Really?
No, you just send it. You give them the address to send it to. I would probably send it to my wallet first, just as a safety measure,
Right.
because
Get intercepted.
yeah.
Maybe.
Well, you want to make sure you get it. You know what I mean? You can't check their wallet and see that you got it. You see what I'm saying? So I'd rather send it to my wallet first, and then I know I got it.
You can trace it.
Yeah. So, anyways, It is now 4 o'clock, 10 after 4. Yeah, exceedingly and smart lab. Okay. So I guess anything else that we want to cover?
No, I guess the other stuff we could probably talk of
Well,
camera.
my question would be regarding crypto. From my perspective, the reason why I like both Smart Lab and Exceedingly is it allowed me to get into crypto without making that a whole nother study uh, project. How to study crypto,
Right.
coins, trying to determine what's going on in the market, Litecoin, XRP, what, you know, I get notifications on my phone all the time that XRP, they're predicting some number out, or today it went up 10%. Why? Like, it's almost like I'm, playing the stock market, which I did not, which I didn't want to do.
Well,
I feel that I feel that I'm better off in this case giving the crypto world my investment or subscription in the case of Smart Lab. I'm putting it in the hand, their expertise, they're using that energy, that capital to deploy, and they're getting a piece for their efforts of creating the computer software, whatever's doing it. And in the case of Exceedingly, same thing. He explained, like just now we were talking, I was just thinking, well, Carl here is just talking about how he's trying to use a particular debit card at Lowe's and it won't accept it. So imagine being in Africa or elsewhere. How are they going to benefit from crypto? They might have electricity and they might have a portable phone, a cell phone, a smartphone. But this Exceedingly gives them an opportunity to get that kind of return. And their energy, using his expertise, is able to deploy that and give us a great return, give me a great return in return for, like he has more available to him to have more pieces to the puzzle to do trades and make the daily. He said he does many, like he didn't tell us exactly how many, but he does multiple transactions a day, which is why at 2% his cut 2 to 10% per transaction,
right.
Whatever the traction. So he's both sides of a transaction.
Yeah.
Facilitating. That's the word I was looking for.
He said he had 4 people working for him too, I think.
So the only thing I would want to ask is, right now, regarding your question, what else do we want to cover? Assuming I didn't know about Smart Lab and didn't know about Exceedingly, and had to attempt to navigate the crypto coin world today, starting tomorrow morning, what would you say about what crypto coins, like you invest in crypto, correct?
Yeah, well, I go by, I'm, I go by what Cliff High said basically, and so I have Veritasium. That's something. Veritasium is kind of interesting because it's thinly traded. There's only one exchange now. It used to be a couple exchanges, and now it's down to one exchange that it's traded on. And I have moved the market when I'm buying or selling Veritasium, and so right now I think I'm just holding on to it. I don't want to sell it. I don't want to buy anymore. If it drops down in price, I might buy some more, but it's actually gone up. It's up at $36 right now, if I remember checking.
It was 40 last week.
Well, that's the thing, is it has these huge swings because it's so thinly traded. Right now it's 34. Well, no, not in the last week.
Well, maybe it was how long? Actually, excuse me, a month ago when we were back in Texas, it was at 40 when you were telling me about them.
Yeah, it was 40 around the 12th or the 13th of March. Yeah. So it's down and starting to go back up. But
I guess the other question I think is with either of these, if you're getting paid out, is to be paid out in cryptos, then the question is which is the better of the cryptos to be paid out in, so that you can continue to increase on your investment with the cryptos rather than using exceedingly or
well,
smart bet.
I would I tend to get that's why I like U.S. dollar tether, and I can with your wallet, you know, any wallet can convert tether into something else if you want something else.
Hmm.
But tether's a stable coin, so it's not going to be moving up and down like other coins will be, like Veritasium, for example. You know, it was a month ago it was $40, and then it was down to
You want to show the people online or no?
I don't have my phone online, so
Okay.
but
No,
so
last you just pulled up Veritasium before on the screen somewhere and was showing its price or whatever. I remember you were able to do that.
not online.
I thought it was.
I can search for it here. See here? See that they go and put this stuff on here to smear them. I think that's going to bite them in the ass.
The volume is $497 when the market cap is 74 million.
Right,
So it's almost no activity.
right.
You know, and that's my concern with just trying to go into crypto was I have no idea other than listening to rumors
Yeah.
what to.
Well, the SEC went and seized some of it to pay off any damages that anybody incurred, although there's been no claims. And so at some point they'll release it to him. And I think that if they go to him hat in hand asking him to, I think they're going to release it all. Then they're going to have to. And there's like about 100 million coins. Says here 100 million very total supply. There's about 100 million that the SEC seized. But anyways, there's a bunch that the SEC seized. It says total circulating supply is 2.14 million. So maybe that's 80 or 90 million that the SEC seized or something. I don't know, but this one is, according to Cliff High, is going to be worth more than Bitcoin. So there's like a lot of upside potential on this one, and so I would I'm planning on, if the price goes down, if it dips down to $5 or something like that, I'll be buying a bunch.
Go to sleep every night, and when you're like the horse in the starting gate. When the gate goes open, you'll be woken up in the saddle, taking off. It's like you're tied to the horse.
Yeah, right. That's about it. It's going to be, and so then there's two things about Veritasium too, because you have the coin, it's going to be needed to complete these smart contracts, which means that you'll get a piece of the action every time it's used for a smart contract. And so it's not just having the appreciation of the coin go up to $1 million a coin. It's every time there's a transaction using Veritasium, you'll get a piece of the action. And so there's a fee, and part of that fee is going to go to you.
Well, that was that Mosca coin thing where they were saying that they were going to get a piece of every transaction if people use it
Right.
to transact. So
all these coins work that way. Even Bitcoin. Okay, anytime Bitcoin's transferred, there's a fee, and it goes to the Bitcoin miners. Okay, who's the Bitcoin miners? I'm a Bitcoin miner. I haven't seen any of these fees. Somebody's getting it. You see what I'm saying? But I haven't mined that much Bitcoin. Maybe you only get the fee when you've mined a lot of Bitcoin or something. I don't know, but there's a fee, and at least part of it goes to whoever mined it. And so if I own all of these Veritasium, and they're using it to complete these smart contracts, then I'm going to get a fee.
So is Veritasium involved in every smart contract and every coin?
Well, the way they're talking about it, I don't know. I don't know how it's all going to work, but the way they're talking about it is they're going to everything, all of the, like on Wall Street, for example, all of these stocks. Okay, like for example, they do naked short selling all the time, and I would never buy a stock on Wall Street. Okay, if I was going to buy a stock, I'd contact the company directly, and I'd say I want to buy some of your stock, and I'm going to send you cash, and I want you to send me the certificates, and they'll do that. I know. So if you buy it on Wall Street, you'll never get the certificates, and they'll be naked short selling it all the time. You see what I'm saying?
So brokerage accounts are bogus.
They're crooks.
So,
And
assuming
so with the smart contracts, the brokerages will be out of business. There won't be any of that stuff anymore.
I don't know that that's going to happen as long as this Congress is in session.
Well, I think that's part of it. They're not going to be in session.
So, assuming I didn't know about Smart Labs, and assuming I didn't know about Exceedingly, or in your case, what would you do today if you didn't know about those other things? If you had $5,000 to get into cryptocurrency, what would be your short-term, medium-term, and long-term strategy?
Everybody's going to be different. I'm not,
I'm asking
what I would do.
Yeah.
I'd probably buy Litecoin.
Okay, why?
Litecoin, because it's 84 million. It's going to be 1/4 the price of Bitcoin. Litecoin is going to take off and you got to figure what's going to happen is Litecoin would be a good investment because it's going to go up to where it's 1/4 of the price of Bitcoin. And right now, Bitcoin is 90,000. So that means Litecoin should be, if it was 1/4 of the price, it'd be 22,000. And so right now it's under $100. So that's a pretty good upside. See what I'm saying?
Now, one thing we didn't show, which we didn't show the current people watching, but when we had our party the other night, you pulled up one of our friends, Ken, did an example of a flow chart of what would happen at the compounding with Exceedingly.
Right.
Let's show that to the audience.
Okay.
Because I want to see it again.
Okay.
Because he's planning on how to basically, and why I think it's real, is potentially real, because it's easy to just multiply numbers.
Mm-hmm.
To have it actually mature and be reality is a whole nother story. But the reason why I think it could possibly be true is because as long as Joseph Maury, who runs the Exceedingly platform, is able to take more and more capital and deploy it, and he keeps the peace, the numbers will multiply, but that's because his numbers are multiplying, because he has, as we know, the crypto market is multiplying, the total value that's in play.
Okay.
So explain what this investment strategy is relative to Exceedingly, which is my number one pick at the moment. I visit my investment at least once a day online to see. I like watching the clock tick down. I'm down to 8 days,
So this
7
is
hours.
actually Ken developed this. So you start out in month one with $12,000. Of course, that was assuming 81%, and now it's not 81; it's only 70% now.
Have them redo this.
So it started out with month one. End of month one, it was 21,000, and he withdrew 11,720, and then he rolled it over. He had 10,000, so he had and he put it in
Which is what you just did last week,
right
correct? At the party, you put
right
10,000
right.
into a quarterly.
It's actually 15,000.
Well, excuse me.
But it's in a quarterly program. So then at the end here with 10,000 in there, it's 90,000 because you get the 800% plus the original investment.
And that would still be true today.
And that would be true today, yes. And then he withdrew 30,000, and that left 60,000 that he did a quarterly again. And at the end of the quarter, it's 540,000, and he took out 40,000 and let it roll. So then 500,000 became 4.5 mil, and he took out half a mil, and then that's a month 11, 4 mil became 20 mil, and he took out 2 mil
because he was getting 400% a month.
Right.
Once one has $1 million to invest.
Right.
Which this man, Joseph, is giving me the opportunity potentially on paper to do a step ladder up to $1 million available capital, which or more, and starting with $10,000
Right.
in month 2. And that's where I'm at. I'm able to get, had I known, I would have probably consolidated and just done the 10,000 for the quarterly from the get-go. But
Well,
I didn't know.
2020 hindsight.
So now,
But it's only tied up for a month anyways.
which I'm right. So here I'm at now, and basically I'm now recognizing that if I live a year and if Joseph Morey pays what he promises, that at the with getting out 30,000 and 40,000 and 500,000.
Right.
Correct?
And 2 mil.
No.
Yeah,
And 2 mil?
And 2 mil.
All right. Thank you. You just made my day. Thank you, Ken. I'm going to have him redo that. Let me send him a text. Because we can't. It's
So you're taking out
It's in a proper spreadsheet. It should be able to just change that
Correct.
return number. And
right.
all the other numbers will
Yeah.
automatically change.
so you have 2.5, 2,500,000, 2,670,000, 81,000, $2,581,000 and $81,720 for living expenses over a year. You think that you could live on that?
Yep. I'm living on a lot less right now. That's exciting. So appreciate your efforts, Glenn. I was telling a friend of mine how you've been diligent down in the foxhole, doing your studies at 3 a.m. to dig out these kind of investments, and on top of that, fighting off the Leos and the crooked judges in your spare time.
Well, and YouTube monetized my channel. And so I think that it might be that maybe because there's been regime change, the communists are no longer in power, that the Bible says that the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. And so, it might be that we're at a point in time when it doesn't matter what we do, it's going to start coming at us from every direction.
You know what? There's some really good insight with that, because the scripture says when the wicked rule, the people groan, but when the righteous are in power, they rejoice.
That's right. That's right. And I really like Trump, and we're going to be talking about Trump tomorrow all day. And so I think that it's going to be worth the it's the PowerPoint presentation is 200 slides. This is it right here. 216 slides. Go Trump, go. And that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. So anyways, I think we're going to wrap it up for today. And we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, same channel. And we'll be talking about Go Trump Go. And this is about cryptocurrencies today, although Trump tomorrow is going to be a little bit about cryptocurrencies because he wants to make America the crypto capital of the world. And so, go Trump, go. Woohoo!
Indeed.
Woohoo! So thanks everybody on YouTube for watching. We're going to wrap it up, and we'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning, Eastern time, and we'll go from there.